I know, I need some coffee.
All right, we just ready to go? 9 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm truly not like the hall monitor.
Cool. All right, y'all. So today we're doing 2 sessions, set goals that matter and buyer consultations. I'll be straightforward. Over the weekend, I was studying the old material that I taught the old material multiple times. So I'll be going through today as best as I can, but it's all pretty standard going forward through it. There's just a lot of command stuff that's linked into it that will work through it as well. So here's my contact info here. My name is Kyle Walker. I've been in the business for about 8 years. All with Keller Williams. I was dual licensed. I was up in Indiana for a little bit doing some coaching and training up there for an independent brokerage. This is 3rd time ALC. I've taught Ignite before. This will be my first 2.0 session. Yeah, that's it. Any questions you guys have for me? How was your week?
A lot of info.
A lot of info. Fire hydrant, right? From last week.
Are you right on that?
Did you start making any dials, any calls, any connections?
Not calls.
Yeah. How did it go?
It went, yeah, kind of like the tells, let everybody know we're in the business now. Kind of getting our name out there. So yeah,
That's great. Are you just getting into the business?
just getting into the business. Yeah.
Awesome.
I've done investments in the past, but never had a license or anything. So
Yeah.
I'm here to do it the real way now. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
exciting. Good for you. Will this be full time for you?
Full time. Yep. All in. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, this is a great course. I took it twice when I first came into business. I switched over from hospitality. I was in hospitality for about 15 years, along with Alicia Duncan up here in the front row. So it's a good course. I took it twice. I think Duncan, you might have taken a little bit before, possibly. Yeah. So it's a good foundation set for you. A lot of it you'll probably recognize from being in investments and stuff like that. However, there's a lot of nuts and bolts that we all can keep on growing on. So cool. What about you, Polly?
What I do this week,
Yeah.
Or-
How was making contacts or conversations around real estate?
I am currently waiting to get my license. So I've made a couple contacts, like just kind of, talking to other people and trying to build my database, but other than that, I haven't really been able to do too much yet.
Gotcha. When do you start your licensing?
We just turned in the application, so I'm just waiting to get my number.
Gotcha. Oh, good.
They just processed my check, I think, this morning. So hopefully I'll have it by the end of this week. And then on Friday, I'm going door knocking with Winnie.
Big move. Love it. Which neighborhood?
The one that she's really interested in, that her family has ties to,
Gotcha.
at the farm.
James Island.
Yeah,
Very cool. Good. That'll be a good experience for you. Yeah, she does a really good job at it. So, and plus, since she's already been in the neighborhood too, there should be some really good conversations for you.
yeah, definitely.
And 10, right? That was heard you've been reprimanded already. How was your week? Yep, getting there.
Yeah, just got I spent the week reaching out to I have a lot of realtor friends throughout the country.
Good.
So I reached out to all of them. Just kind of let them know what I'm doing, getting in this. Reached out to a couple of neighbors. I'm involved in my HOA in my community. So I kind of hit up everyone in the community who I have already.
Yep, very
Have
good.
in my list of contacts, and I kind of just saying hi and this is what's going on, kind of offered a free market analysis, or put it as I'd love to practice, I'm brand new.
Yep.
Shoot me all questions that you have, because the more you ask, the more I learn, kind of thing. That's kind of my biggest downfall.
I can say that any downfall.
No, my biggest downfall that I shared with you. You didn't get. I gave it to myself because I'm a little command resistant,
Yep, I can understand.
and not for any reason. It's just I don't get around to getting in it and putting people in, and
Right.
I'm not utilizing.
She'll help you with that, because that will be once you get into it more, I'm sure you understand it. You'll know that's as you build it, as you build your database. There's no other way to do it other than using a CRM like that to keep everything all in one spot. Otherwise, it turns into crazy madness.
Me flipping through this notebook. To
Yeah,
find
I've got a
what I
couple.
wrote
I've got a
down.
couple of those, and it does not work, and I still use them. Yeah, it does not work. So, well, it's good though. Referral agents is a great opportunity to build your business through there and connecting with other people. As long as you're tying down, making sure that they're going to be reaching out to you if they've got anybody coming to Charleston. And HOA is fantastic. I mean, you could do so many, if you're an event person out of your HOA, I mean, it could be a first-time home buyer brew or wine or something like that you can send out to your HOA people or whatever that looks like. But both of those places, I think, are really good opportunities for you if that's where your comfort is.
That's why I'm trying to like plant my roots in my comfort zone, so
Yep.
then I'll stretch
Yep.
my wings after.
Yep, work on your strengths. That's great. Absolutely. Any other wins before we get into it? Duncan, how about you?
I mean, I had a pretty big one this week,
Actually, you told me about your win. Is this the Arizona one?
in Mexico.
Yeah, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big win.
Yeah.
You want
What
to
is
share?
it?
We want to share briefly with that.
Well, to do this whole CRM thing, I haven't done it in my entire career now, paying for it 5 years later, so I got like 20 some odd people in mind for the week, so at least I started my command out. But as far as my New Mexico lead, this fellow I contacted about a year ago wanted to buy here at Kiowa. And I'm still working with him to make that purchase, but he's got a home that he wants to sell first, but he's never lived in. He's been building it for 20 years. So it's 684 acres in New Mexico. It's probably like somewhere between 50 and 80 million dollars.
Yeah.
And he's asked me to sell it. So I'm getting licensed in New Mexico right now to be able to hang my license at KW out there and list that house.
Where in New Mexico is it?
House?
It's
That's
beautiful. Wow.
gorgeous, yeah.
No wonder it's, yeah, it's definitely multi.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, my heart's been pumping since, one day that's Saturday. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
A lot of education to get through very quickly, but yeah, I'm up for that challenge.
So this is a great lesson. Never discount just any connection at all. Even as you go on in the business, leads or, buyers or sellers that you were working with that maybe for whatever reason it didn't work at the time, keep in touch with them, keep adding value to them, stay in contact with them because you never, ever, ever know.
He kept telling me, he's like, I got a guy who's gonna list it at Austin. I was like, listen, that's good, man. I was like, I'm here because I'm gonna bring you a buyer whether I sell it or not.
Yeah.
And he just kept joking. And I was like, I think I'm kidding, bud. I was like, my client's got pockets.
Yeah.
And he just called me, said, my guy at Austin doesn't have a brokerage here because he's his own broker. So to hang a broker's license in another state, that's a longer trial and journey for him to go through, where because of my situation under Keller Williams of having that national brokerage, it's an easier transition for me for a sales license. So he was like, you're gonna do it. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do
Love it.
it. So
Good work, Doug.
we,
Saw the photos. It's a beautiful property for sure. Obviously at that price point. Christina, I know you're not in this class, but before I start, will you briefly mention you do a massive referral business? You want to
Yes.
just touch on like just percentage and just for the ears of the room on what that means to connect with other agents?
Gosh, I would say about 60 to 70% of my business would be from agent referrals. So I heard you talking about that. So I just reach out, same thing that you're doing, reach out to my realtor friends and reach out to other agents that I've already connected with on social media. And we keep tabs on each other's businesses and we collaborate sometimes together. So they remember me, they feel comfortable working with me and they send me their people. So I guess that's,
But how long have you been licensed?
ooh, I've been licensed since October of last year.
So not even a year.
Yeah,
Crushing already, which is good. And I see you on social media, like you do a good job, you're making a point to do it. It's not the other stuff that other people are putting on social media. You're actually commenting, you're tracking, congratulating, like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing,
yes,
how the book goes, right?
Yes.
So
it's all about building relationships.
Yep. congrats on a year and a half. Actually, when she first moved here, she raised her hand to do an open house for me when she first came in. I think that's when I first met you. She came out and did the open house, and that was about a year plus ago. Come on in.
Yeah, I popped over with Lexi
Yep.
and then did one with you.
Yep.
Which
So
I've
she's-
been
she's
thinking
jumped
about
in.
that food truck ever since.
She's jumped in big time, in other words, with open houses, referrals, whatever it takes. She's definitely proven that the model works. All right, you guys ready to get started? Time's over. Let's do it. All right. So first page here. So I'll be reading off of this. Here's the secret to building a successful real estate agent. There is no secret. Success leaves clues, so we know exactly what successful agents do every day. Every day, agents do two types of activities. They grow their business and they run their business. So up here you can see the difference between growing and running the business. You guys want to take a quick look through there and tell me what you think the difference, like what you think the main difference is between growing and running is? I mean, it can be obvious, and maybe it's not obvious, but
I think growing a business has a lot to do with like lead gen.
Yeah.
Adding people to your pipeline, buyers and sellers, going that route.
like actual sales. So like picture grow, like your bar, like your dollar, your volume bar that's raising, lowering like that. So that's what they mean by grow. So growing is lead generating, it's going on, it's making presentations, it's selling the homes like that. Running the business is where a lot of agents like us get caught in. Marketing, showing houses, transaction management, once the house is under contract, all the check mark stuff. That's running the business, but that's not growing your business. So anytime anybody's talking about the two, if you're working on your business, in your business, growing your business, running your business, these are the two different ways to look at it. So throughout Ignite, they'll be showing you guys all the different ways through these different categories on how you're going to build your business, right? Today, I think we'll be doing the lead generate for buyers and sellers. And we'll also be working on training, get coaching, and buyer consultations. So I was also a buyer's agent for the first part of my career. So I was very buyer heavy on that side. So majority of my business starting out was through buyers. I'd probably say 80%, 85%, something like that. Now it's somewhere around 55, 45 between buyers and sellers. So I've leveled off in a good way. So what we'll focus on today, oh, I was close. So lead generating for buyers and sellers, setting goals, and then coaching and training. So every day we do lead generate for buyers and sellers. You can find buyers and sellers everywhere. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. I mean, it could be at the grocery store, it could be at Home Depot, it could be the coffee shop person. An easy script around it. I think it's kind of one of my favorite ones, but wherever you go, somebody's behind a counter, you would be great. You'd be perfect in the business that I'm in, right? And naturally that person's going to ask you, oh, well, what business are you in? Well, I'm in real estate. Have you thought about a career in real estate? Maybe they say no, maybe they say yes. If they say no, perfect. Well, since we're on the topic, right? Have you ever thought about buying or selling in real estate or having an investment property in real estate? So it's an easy buy-in, right? Like an easy, quick script. So you can try to get them into the business, maybe profit share, maybe Keller Williams. So it's engaging with them. You're giving them a piece of value on that side. But on the flip side, no matter what their answer is, it's an easy slide in since we're on the topic. Have you thought about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? So it's always a great conversation. It's an easy script too, like on that side. I mean, I see Duncan out quite a bit, so I'll probably reference him a lot in class today. It's really easy to use this script wherever you go. We spend a lot of time, we're from hospitality background. There's a lot of talent in hospitality. Naturally, they're very, very good face-to-face with people and how they do sales. So that's a good script. So that's the easiest script you could have to lead generate every day. So don't look at it the difficult way of scrolling through your phone all the time. You can go out anywhere in the public and find people to talk to on that side. I've gone through the Yellow Pages before, which sounds crazy, through a program called Bold, right? But Yellow Pages calling, I actually got 2 pieces of business from it. It was connected with businesses that wanted to be part of a vendor program with me. Like, hey, I'm just reaching out. I just want to know if you guys are okay with me putting your company on my vendor page for all of my clients. Yes, no, maybe, perfect. Well, and also, since I got you on the phone, have you ever thought about a career in real estate? No. Well, also, have you thought about buying, selling, or investing in real estate lately? So easy ways like that. I made 100 contacts doing that. It took all day. It was exhausting. I think I finished at 8 o'clock at night. It was very difficult, but it changed my mindset around it. And I got 2 pieces of business from it as well. So, I mean, yeah, it took 12 hours to get there, right? It was exhausting, but just coming to the business, 2 pieces of business really meant a lot at that time. So for full day's work, and you're thinking commissions, which we'll go over later, average price point, that's $18,000. I mean, net total, right? Anyways.
What types of businesses were you targeting?
So it was the Yellow Pages. So first it was going through, I was going through automotive. I was going through all the little shops on James Island first. So automotive, I actually did attorney's offices, which was absolutely crazy. And that was fascinating because I was going through the A's, right? So just simple through there. There wasn't really a target on it. The goal was to get to 100 contacts through this program or this class. It was just all about like mindset, just making the phone calls, just getting through the phone calls. So at that time, I really wasn't like having a purposeful target on who I was calling, which I would do now. But then it was just to get to the 100, just so I could raise it was like a competition, just so I could raise my hand and say I hit the 100 right on that side. So no really target on it. You could definitely get more defined with it for sure, and probably raise the 2% that I had out of the 100. Good question though. What do you think you would target if you were using the Yellow Pages?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to
Something to
think.
think about. Brain scramble. It's an easy conversation.
I mean, if you're specifically looking for like vendors that you can add to your website.
I'm going with A for arborist. Everybody needs a tree cutter.
Smart, Duncan.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like when I bought my first house, all of the vendors that I needed to search for. Which is a lot.
There's a lot of them. We can find you a list too. There's definitely a sheet through KW that will go through 100+ different vendors. I mean, there's so many different things and opportunities that you wouldn't think that could correlate with your business. But my business is being a concierge. Like I'm a connector. I want to connect everybody to anybody. So even if it's somebody who's at Six Flags Park that wants to go on vacation, I want to know who the head of admissions is at Six Flags Park, and I'm going to put them on. They're going to be on my vendor list somewhere. Just whatever anybody needs, I want to find them the resource. I want them to be thinking of me for ask Kyle for whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is, real estate, not real estate. I want them to come to me, and if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find them somebody to connect with on that side. So today we're going to be setting goals for the business. So let's see here. Set a meaningful goal. We're going to be completing a 411 with steps to move towards that goal. Have you guys done a 401 yet? Or have you guys seen what they look like? The 411 sheet? No? Perfect. Simple sheet, but it's a great way to set goals though. Today's going to be a fun day. Today we're going to cover setting goals, which is part of running your business. To do that, we're going to be asking big questions. Where do you want to go? What's your motivation? And last but certainly not least, how do you get there? Today's learning module is called Setting Goals That Matter. What makes the goal matter to y'all? You guys are setting a goal. What does that mean to you? What makes that matter?
Depends on the goal.
Yeah. So what's a goal you have, Duncan?
I want to pay my house off in 2 years.
And why does that matter to you?
Financial freedom. I just have to pay a mortgage or something like that monthly. I think it's stupid as shit. Don't want to rather have that money to travel or whatever. So that's the goal.
Yep.
I was just backing it out, figuring out how much per month I need to put away or what I need to do in real estate to get there. That's why I jumped over Keller Williams, so I can get there.
What about you, Romanowski?
I mean, time freedom is a big thing. So once again, learning how to budget, how to manage your schedule and kind of all that is huge. So right off the bat, I think that's the big thing for me, because that's kind of why I left the 9 to 5. I don't want to be micromanaged, but coming over here is the big thing, be able to do that, on weekends, or even if you get through everything, you can say, hey, I'm going to take off early on a Friday to go golf or something like that. But you got to get your clientele, your database down, so you can be able to do that.
That's great. I love how you led with time management or budgeting. I mean, you can say budget too with that. I mean, it's budgeting your time like on that side. And it's getting really defined inside of your calendar, because otherwise you're going to be scrambled and it's going to be a whole lot worse than a 9 to 5. I can definitely say that from experience for myself, but then, talking with other agents too, that's the number one thing that people think when they get into business is that they want that time. They want to be their own boss, et cetera, et cetera. If you're not managing it though, can get away real quick. Real quick. Anybody else on goals? Good. Yeah. Perfect. Who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. Has anybody read The One Thing yet? Knows who authored The One Thing? Green, you probably did, Dean. Yeah, we'll have to get you a book. So The One Thing was written by Gary Keller and another guy named Jay Papasan. It's a great book. You'll see it in every airport. It's probably about 10 years old now. But what it does is it teaches you to focus on one thing at a time. We can't be a master of many things at one time. So it's just giving that one definitive goal that you have. And we'll work on that today to show you guys what that looks like. But again, it's just focusing on one thing and not too many things at one time, because if it was 5 things at one time, you're not going to do them all perfect, as opposed to one thing at a time. It's going to be much more efficient, especially when you're talking about budgeting of time too. Like you just knock them out in a row as opposed to doing them all at one time. Let's see here. It's asking here, guys, why do you guys think it's important to set goals? Talk about why goals matter, but why do you think it's important to set them?
You know where you're going. So you know where to aim and where to head to.
Kind of like a pilot takes off, right? Like a pilot's going to go in circles if they don't know
Right.
where their goal is at the end. I mean, it's simplistic, right? Like on that side, but in the same sense, without having goals, without having accountability around those goals, like you're kind of out there just doing a hodgepodge. If your business doesn't have, the standards that you want to see, like Duncan, what was your goal this year for volley?
I think my base goal was 10. I think my stretch was 15.
15, yeah. So what Duncan's saying by base 10, by numbers and math with his database and where he was leading lag in his business, he knew he could do 10 million. 10 million was like the goal for him to be happy, pay the bills, take care of his family. He's a big family person. He's buying his first investment property for Airbnb, but his stretch goal is 15. So it's like the stretch meaning, okay, 10 is there, but stretch getting to 15, the extra 5. Can you push it? Can you find more business? Everything else. So a lot of times when you hear people set goals and hear goals, sometimes it's good to ask that question. Well, is that what you're trying to do is that your standard goal, or is that your stretch goal? Because there is a big difference with it. Because definitely think big, definitely think sky's the limit. And also in the same sense, don't burn yourself out trying to reach the sky's the limit when you know that you can hit what you need to take care of your family yourself and take the weekends off, like you were saying, and whatever that looks like. So a couple of different ways to look at the goals there. Does that make sense?
I think having it done on a quarterly too, like setting a yearly goal and then breaking it down into quarters. So instead of, because I know that I look at that 10 million mark and I'm like, shit, I'm not there, shit, I'm not there, shit, I'm not there. But if I break it down like every 3 months and be like, all right, I need to get to, 2.5 million. It's so much easier to be able to acquire and accomplish 2.5 in 3 months than it is to try to do 10 million in 3 months. So just being able to break that down helps me get to that overall goal. But I think doing the breakdown of it is tremendous for our mind to be able to get there, because those overall numbers can sometimes scare you out of your own wants.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's good that you brought that up, because the 411, which I mentioned earlier, we'll look at today, it's a goal tracking chart. It's a simple one page. I agree with Duncan. I do mine on quarters. However, the 411 also goes monthly as well to keep you on target for the month. But it's an easy breakdown from your one goal to the monthly to what you're doing each week. That way you're working backwards on everything. That way you're not dogpiling everything into one big number. You can track.
I was hodgepodge for a year until I literally broke it down.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'll get there.
And a lot of it's, and I won't try to overcomplicate things, but if lead and lag, if you guys aren't familiar with what lead and lag means, so it's lead time going to the business, lag time until it actually produces into business, right? So Gary Keller says, from start to finish, if I met you today and you're buying a piece of property with me, we just met today. On average, I'm not gonna get a paycheck from you or commission until 90 days from now. So you have to be thinking, right, that lag time is gonna be 90 days from now. So in your business, the same as you're going through, just understand this first couple months might be a little bit slower, but then you're gonna have that ramp up. You'll start, the longer you're in the business, you'll start understanding like when your off seasons are, when your hot seasons are. That way you can plan your vacations accordingly, whatever comes up, right? So lead and lag, it's a great way to track. But yeah, we'll go over the 411 today. Let's see here. Think act achieve. So part of achieving goals is working hard. I think we can all agree on that. If you don't put in the time and effort, you won't get very far. So looking at this graph, what else is important to setting and meeting goals?
And like he said, like with the quarterly and then looking at it as big picture.
Yep.
And then also breaking it down so you can just make sure that you're keeping track of that goal to get to the big outcome.
And yes, you just nailed it on that to the big outcome. Like you see in the graph here, right? So time and effort and thinking. So what do you guys think this is? So what's the red line telling you on here compared to the blue line?
Massive action gets you where you want to go.
Yeah, big action, big thinking, right?
It's true.
Like, so what we were saying a while ago, like just you want to set those stretch goals, like have your standards, but you want to set those stretch, like you want to push yourself as far as you want to push yourself, right? But thinking bigger is going to get you there. So you'll hear limiting beliefs a lot. I say it all the time. But thinking big is going to really open a lot of doors. And a lot of, like, I've changed definitely over the last 8 years in self-belief in myself, just coming through this business from the start to where I'm at today. But it's leveling up. It's just thinking bigger. Like, what are the bigger possibilities with it? You know, again, I was on a team as a buyer's agent, and now, you know, I'm a team owner of, I've got 3 people on my team. We're about to hire 2 more, and it's all within a matter of like 5 months, right? But all of a sudden, that thinking got big and happened quick on that side, just to get in around like the beliefs of myself or limiting beliefs, stuff like that, to make it happen. So thinking big will end up with the big outcomes.
Kyle, do you speak big too?
Do I speak?
I know, at least for me, thinking big was one thing, but speaking aloud what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like, whether it be affirmations or just
Yeah.
belief in I'll sell that $10 million house. Like, I think, you know, thinking it is one thing, but
Yeah.
if you can talk it aloud and start to just grasp, I'm curious if you do that. It's just me.
Yeah, affirmations, I can definitely go back more to a lot more. I think a lot of people find it corny or cheesy. You guys know what affirmations are, like self-affirmations? Yeah, like just, I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful. Yeah, but affirmations, just, I mean, just waking up every day, I am beautiful. But just waking up every day, just saying, I'm gonna set 1 appointment today, right? I'm gonna set 2 appointments today. You guys know me too well.
Yeah, it's just, no, it's great.
Yeah. But it's true though, like with affirmations around your business or around your family or personal life, love life, the more you say it out loud, the more like your brain just unravels it and just realize that you're saying it, because we get caught in our own head, right? Like it gets stuck in there, and it happens a ton with me, and I don't need that kind of space. I got to say it out. That's why I've got Delisha in the office that I can just flood the stuff out there. But yeah, so it's a great question, Duncan. Sorry, I digress.
But 90% of our conversations take place between our ears, and that is a huge part of why, as new agents, what is our 80% attrition rate? Because we create these stories and these huge mountains of why we can't do it. No one's going to work with us. You know, we can't. We create all of these reasons why we are going to fail at this. And instead of reworking those narratives or those limiting beliefs or those stories that we have had our entire lives, we accept them. And so, you know, in any exercise, whether it's an affirmation or, you know, different podcasts, anything that you can start your day, you know, or end your day with, or listen to it whenever, make it a point to feed your mind with positive thoughts or advice from folks that you look up to in this field or in business in general, whoever it is. Just be cognizant and aware that that is part of your daily routine, really.
Yeah, 90% is definitely all mindset. 10% is everything else. If you can get over the mindset, then everything else falls into place. I really believe that wholeheartedly. The question you need to ask is, how big is your box? If you're not thinking big, you're creating an artificial ceiling of achievement. There are only so many hours in the day. There's only so much any one person can do with those hours. So that's like what you were talking about a while ago. So I'm trying to think of a time. So saying share a time that I was thinking too small. Here's a good, I shared this the other day. When I first got into business, like hitting the phones was hard for me. Coming from restaurant, the last place, running a bar, being face to face, I can read nonverbal communication. I can dictate where the conversation is going to go by just seeing the interactions of the people there. So getting in this business, at first, I was doing it all via phone. And it was a challenge for me because I couldn't see the person on the other end. I was calling the yellow pages. I was calling people I didn't know. So it was very difficult for me. And I went to that first year, I went to the event in Austin, Texas for Keller Williams. It's their big convention where Gary Keller he's emceeing on the stage, a bunch of the big dog agents up there. And there was an agent up there named Jeff Glover. He's the top agent out of Michigan, top 10 KW Global. He has a big coaching program now, but he said on stage, he runs this massive team. And he's still taking listings, still calling, phone dialing every morning. And he said one thing, he said, the more rejections I get, the more houses I sell. It's like, holy smokes, like that's the craziest thing I've ever, like I sat up in my seat right away. I was like, this makes sense, because I was getting so many no's, but I was beating the heck out of myself about it. I was limiting my thoughts around the no's, as opposed to if I just looked at it. There's a good book called Go for No. I know you've read it, Duncan, but the more rejections we get, at some point, in theory, if you start measuring how many no's you're getting and rejections, you can check it off. But once you get one, you're starting fresh, right? If you did that every day, however often you lead gen, you start recognizing, okay, I'm at 25. I know I got one coming around the corner for an appointment. So long story short, that was a limiting thought. I was thinking around the phone dialing and having a rejection. So I heard him on the stage, and it was funny. I was just up in Michigan at one of his conferences in Traverse City, Jeff Glover, the same guy who was on stage, and we were going to an event out there. And I was able to sit next to him on the bus driving out to this event. It was like this wine vineyard, everything else. And I brought up that line. And it was so funny because he's like, Kyle, it's like, that's probably the number one line that he says that line a lot. But his conversations around people, he said, that's probably the number one thing that people recognize me for, is from me saying that. The more rejections I get, the more houses I sell. It's so simple in terms, right? But just around the limiting thoughts, just around when people say no, sometimes don't take no for an answer, right? Or next. Let's move on. Like, let's don't get wrapped up about our own emotions in it. Get emotional. All right. So envisioning your big life. We're going to do an activity here that will help you envision your big life. Once you have that vision in place, then you can set meaningful goals that will bring you closer to that life. Once you have the goals, we can talk about how to reach them. So everything definitely all begins with your vision. If you can start visualizing where you want to go, or what that looks like, it helps to put everything else in place. Again, working backwards. If you can go to vision, or some people, I love the term calling it your North Star. Like, where is your North Star? Like when you get lost in the road, right? You don't know where you're going. You're spinning in circles. Where's your North Star? That's kind of like what the vision is, right? So if you're down and out in business, scrambling for 2 weeks, you've been in the weeds, right? Where's your North Star? Where's your vision? Like, go back to it, look at what that's supposed to look like for you. And it'll ground you a little bit on that side. And it'll also give you some peace and comfort knowing, okay, this is the direction I'm supposed to be going on that side. So are you guys looking at, looks like you should have 5 rectangles on your page. Okay, so on each of the 5 rectangles, write a person or cause that you care about. So maybe it's a wife, husband, partner, mom, dad. It could be, here, I'll read the rest of the directions first. So what would you like to do for that person or cause? Repeat for each rectangle. Example, maybe you want to be able to care for your parents as they age, send your kids to school without debt, pay for a vacation for you and your best friend. For a cause, perhaps you would like to be named, to be a named supporter for your local animal shelter, or serve the board of a charity you care about. You can be one of these people you care about. Perhaps your big life includes prioritizing your health so you have more time and energy to give, or paying off your student loans. There are no wrong answers. Include an estimate of how much each action would cost. And then in the center, quantify what this big life requires financially. How much would these things cost combined? Some parts of the big life will likely require time as well as money. Be mindful on that just think more in the dollars right now. So that's kind of the idea for this thing. So take those 5 on the 5 different things that would change, would impact your lives or family members, and have that big dollar. You gotta take your time too. Got a few minutes. And that center circle will be the total sum of all the dollars.
strictly on a yearly basis? I don't know.
Yeah, yearly. Good question. It doesn't say, but we'll do it for this. And that circle number will be the sum of all the 5 categories. Donuts up over there. Looks like thumbs down, thumbs down. You finished too? Everybody's good? I don't want to rush anybody. This is big stuff here, talking about vision. All right, so everybody's good. Give me some ahas that you guys have. I know it was only like 5 minutes that you took to do this. I definitely suggest at some point taking an hour or 2 or half day, really digging deep on this, because this is important. But what were some ahas as you guys were writing down some of these rectangles or seeing the total number?
Not enough boxes for what I want to do. The number's way too high for where
It's
I'm
a
at.
big number for sure.
A lot of work.
What you, Polly?
I'm kind of the opposite because I've always lived a very frugal life, being a teacher. So, just my goal, like if I made 100, 150, like just, with my bills and everything, I'd be rolling in the dough. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Love it. That's awesome.
Obviously, hopefully as I make more money, I'll have those bigger goals. But yeah, I just realized how frugal I really am.
There's pros and cons with that.
Yeah.
A lot more pros with being frugal in the same sense. Cons too, though.
Mhm.
As you build a business too, you want to make sure, that flips a little bit too. How was yours?
You just make a lot.
You make a lot of money?
I think I shot up very high on my dollar amount for each box.
And so again, going back to some of them might take a little bit longer in time, right? So that big number could also be you know, one of those to pay off, say if it was like a debt or something, I mean, it might take a couple of years to pay off a student loan, crazy debt, or home mortgage, whatever that looks like. Again, it vision's North Star, like it's going on like big picture, right? It's not something that has to be, we did it for right now for like this year, what it looks like. But when you think big vision, like that's the top 5 things. So it might take longer than that 1 year.
Well, I kind of think I did my, I had ideal perfect life scenario.
Good. That's
So I
good.
ended up with.
I mean, you just
I
start
ended up with
envisioning.
5K in my, in the 500K.
That's good. Yeah, I love it. If I could do 500K, I'd be a happy man. You can do it.
I also thought it was interesting, the placement of my boxes. Because the one thing that's purely just for me is down in the bottom corner, and it's like, well, maybe that shouldn't be.
Interesting. So have you taken the disc profile? Know what
No.
that is? No?
But I'm kind of thinking like from a realistic standpoint, like maybe putting myself at the top with a better me would make these things easier.
Yeah, I think that's a great aha. I think the more like self-awareness, like around like our own enjoyment and what's going to drive us and what's going to keep us going every day, like it might not, like for me, it wouldn't be paying off a debt first thing. I mean, it is, I know that's what I'm doing first, but I will get no enjoyment doing that. However, if I can work backwards on it and get the fulfillment, I think I was talking to Alicia the other day, like I have to travel, like if without traveling, like I'm dead in the water. I've done 10 different cities in the last 9 or 10 months. So right now it's about 1 week out of every month I'm traveling. So that's the energy I get to come back and do this business, to hustle the business, everything else. So for me, I am at the top of the chart there because I have to be in order for me to do all the other pieces around it. So I think self-awareness around like what your daily activities are, where you want to go, how you want to do it, like you have to enjoy it. Otherwise, like any business, you'd get spent, you get burnt out probably pretty quick if you weren't taking care of, like self-care is a big thing in this business. Because that 9 to 5 can go big like really quick, and next thing you know, like it's probably an industry thing that people really don't take care of themselves because they're always trying to service their clients, you know, at all hours till the end of the day and just go. So that's a great aha you had, honestly. Anybody else? All right, now you have a vision and a goal. So let's look at what it means for you to achieve that goal through real estate. So now we're going to talk about money, dollars. So do you guys, this isn't in the packet, do you guys feel like people have this perception about when a real estate agent makes a commission? What do people say?
Rich. That's like a ton of money.
So you're making a ton of money. Alicia?
Easy money.
So when I got my real estate license, knew absolutely nothing about like what it entailed. And I truly thought that I would get my license, get a convertible, and just be like throwing money out the side. Like, legit. And so I get my license and, you know, I find a brokerage and I'm like, all right, where's everyone? Like, where's who? I'm like, where are like my people? Like, where are my clients? And it was just like crickets. And then it was explained to me like how this goes. And I was like, well, no one told me that. All right. So I had a very funny, not well-informed start, but I mean, this is even, you know, before licensing. And I don't know if anyone else has gone through that, but the public persona is, and I love the memes and the different kind of Instagram accounts to where it's like what people think we do, what we actually do. Yeah, I'm really, but yeah.
From bartender to real estate agent. That's a transition.
Yeah, so a lot of times people who aren't in the business just think every commit, I mean, like, oh, wow, like they do the quick number in their head, right? So they see the ultimate, like the gross commission that's on it
Or
for
even on
one
the
transaction.
clients, it's like, wow, you made 30 grand for this. It's like, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's start backing everything.
Tax
out.
guy gets
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll go with this. Where does it go? So where does the dollar gonna go? So being new in the business, this is definitely an understanding, like just of basics, right? So this is just basic 101, like just going through, but just so you can understand where everything's going, because this will help you project your goal to what numbers you need to make as well. So the first thing you need to do is understand how your commission works. Many new agents get the check for their first closing, pocket it all, and then get in trouble down the line. Let's talk about where the money goes, how much it will actually be going to your goal. These numbers are very general and are meant only as an example. Actual amounts will vary, especially if you're on a team. That's kind of fun. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Someone else.
Yeah, that's great. See that red line pop up there? It says click on here. That's great. So first, if you're on the seller side of the transaction, half the commission amount goes to the buyer's agent. The same is true if you're a buyer's agent, paying a 50% split to the seller's agent. So the commission, industry standard, 6% overall for the whole commission, right? So typically it's 50-50. There are all different kinds of structures, but for today's course, we'll just do 50-50 on it. So 50% goes to you at the time of closing, right? Another red line. So once you have your half, about a third of that goes to the market center. Again, we're talking general numbers. We'll go to the market center or brokerage to cover your company dollar, franchise royalty, and fees. After you pay the market center, roughly another third goes back into your business. This covers your marketing, operating expenses, signs, your car, your phone, anything else you need to conduct and grow your business. Could be office space, could be paper. I mean, there could be so many different things in your expenses on it, right? And finally, you get your share with the caveat, your take home includes your taxes. So you got to put away your money for taxes religiously. You do not want to have a year's worth of work wiped out because you failed to plan for taxes. That's a big thing too, for I think a lot of people coming in as a 1099 for the first time, is they haven't worked as a 1099 before. You know, they've always had the taxes taken out for them. So it's, for whatever reason, it's hard for all of us to like physically take that portion and like put it to the side because it's not fun, right? Without somebody else doing it. So that last portion there is our portion. And then obviously with that caveat, it is with taxes on that. So be sure to take out your taxes. And Duncan, I don't know if you've ever done this before. Like sometimes I won't actually do this, but when clients will talk about commissions, it depends on my gauge, like with them, when they talk about commissions and you're getting this, you're getting that. Sometimes I will go back to explaining the kind of a simple breakdown like this is, this whole commission isn't for me, it's split between the two. And then you've got, and I explain how brokerages work, right? And why brokerages need to have their percentages on top, you know? So I kind of do this simple formula if someone is conflicting on, you know, just depends on the conversation. If they're really struggling to understand the value of the commission, if I haven't gotten to my value proposition, like a lot of different things, this is a good way to break it down sometimes. I mean, be careful with who you do it with. However, it's been beneficial for me to show it this way. And it helps them understand a lot more that that whole dollar isn't going to the pocket, especially when they see, I mean, I don't do the actual like this, but when they actually hear like the percentage of the last part that's actually coming to you at the end of the day, it's like every other business, you know? So any ahas here as we look at that basic money breakdown? Anything you didn't think of?
If you haven't started an LLC and don't have a CPA, do so you can write off all that shit. I don't have to worry about it. Good, I need a CPA, I got one for you.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
LLC will protect you too. I'm sure you guys will have somebody coming in at some point this year to speak on LLCs and different things like that, to help anybody out with this. All right. Let's get real. So we're going to use these numbers just because they're on the screen. It's probably pretty close to what our market is, just depending on what area. I mean, there's so many different variables, but this is probably pretty close to our tri-county area, all 3 counties, maybe even 4 counties with Carlton. So 300,000, this is going off of a 3% commission. So we'll use these numbers for all intents and purposes today. So our objective in this activity is to get real about tying your business to your goals. We're going to figure it out based on how much money you'll receive from a transaction, how many transactions you'll need this year to meet your goal. So turn the page to your participation guide.
Pretty sure that's page 5.
Let's go. You see it on yours?
Doesn't say participation guide, it just says at the top, it says get it real about your goals.
All right.
It's got that chart that you got in front of you.
Yes, and maybe. Okay, perfect. So you're there. So, let's see. So first, we're going to do an estimate the average sales price and average GCI in a market. As you experience selling more homes, you'll be able to estimate an average sales point and GCI that fits your transactions more accurately. So again, we'll use these numbers today just for us. And then you can plug and play once we go through the activities to see what you need to do to change things and where your goals want to be. So in our market, the average sales price of a home, we're going to use the 300,000. Gross commission for that is 9,000. Again, that's one half of the agent, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Duncan. So this number is actually, hey, Winnie.
Hi.
You guys know Winnie? Has everybody met her? She's famous around here. So what's the company dollar now? I mean, I know it's, sometimes it changes. You all know? Yeah, 15, 20?
15 or 20, it depends.
Gotcha. So
New agents, it's 20.
Okay, so we'll adjust this. All right, so company dollar here, so that's 27. Look, you guys just made 7,000. Isn't that great? All right. So now we're going to figure out how much of your commission is going to the market center. So multiply your GCI. Actually, we'll just stick with the 27, guys, just so we can use these numbers. So multiply your GCI by your market center's company dollar. This number is capped at $27,000. Once you cap, you don't have to pay any more company dollar to your market center until after your next anniversary date. Next is the franchise royalty, which is generally 6% of your GCI. This is capped at $3,000. Now add those two together to get the maximum amount of the money you'll pay the market center in the course of 12 months. I might have made a mistake. You guys probably should put the 20,000 instead of
It's
20.
not 27.
Yeah, do 20 instead of 27, just so we can be real in the numbers here. So I told you guys to bring a pencil. Good one, dad joke. All right,
Number 2 pencil.
so one in every classroom. All right, so let's see here. So now we're getting to the point of all this. Let's find out how many transactions you need to do this year in order to meet your goal. So how many here know what your guys' net income goal is going to be? Duncan, you do? Yeah. Polly, I think you mentioned a number earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if I could get to 100,000 in my first year, I'd be
Yeah.
very happy.
I mean, do you know, you don't have to say your number. Do you know your number though?
No, I don't.
Not yet, okay. So for arbitrary purposes, maybe you could just use the 100,000. Do you have a number that you know? in there? Good. Yep, so you'll plug that number into the A there. So A is your annual net income goal. How much money do you want to make this year before taxes and operating expenses? B is the number we came up with on the last slide. What is the maximum amount you can expect to pay the market center? So the 20,000 plus the 3,000, so that's 23,000, right?
Mhm.
If I go too fast, tell me. C is your annual business expenses. This includes salaries, your lead generation, and marketing expenses, education, all of those things combined. There's a much longer list than that. I feel like 50,000 sounds like a lot for a first year,
Individual business is usually about $6,000 in there.
$6,000 for the year, so
Yeah.
500 a month.
Mhm.
Told you guys, welcome Winnie. So if you guys want to put in $6,000 for business expenses, like you guys just made 44,000, just like that.
You're welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Heyo.
D is your total gross commissions earned, GCI, which is the total of A, B, and C added together. This is how much money you'll need to make to pay the market center and still hit your goal. So add those three up. Then E is your average GCI per transaction, the first calculation we did. So if we went on those numbers, you guys might not know your numbers yet until until you start getting into the transactions. So we'll use that 9,000 as your average GCI. Then finally, F is how many transactions you'll need to hit the goal. So based on your GCI, to get this number, divide D by E. Divide D by E. And you'll see how many transactions you need to hit. It says here, if you need additional help calculating those transaction goals, reach out to your productivity coach, director of career development. That's Alicia. If you need help with dividing D by E. So we don't need that help.
Also, the first Thursday of every month, we do have around $1,000 in real estate.
So you guys did that last Thursday, right? Yep. That's also great. If you want to see Winnie, our director of growth, and Vince Mariani, our team leader, first Thursdays of every month. That's a great course to be in. I would attend that course again. Any ahas you guys have from looking at these numbers, most specifically around the transaction goal? How do you guys feel with that transaction goal number? Scary, not scary, too low, too high?
I think it's still too high.
Such a great way of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
2 a month, one every 2 weeks. Everybody else felt good with that number goal? So yours was 20? Yours is less than that. Yours is like 14 or 15.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that math in my head?
Doable. Yeah.
Very doable. What, one and a quarter every month? That's exciting.
Yeah, whenever you start to
That's
see
not, I
how
mean, because
realistic
actually
it
this
is.
does feel doable.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
This feels less scary than the 20.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the
Let's go break
6,000
that down.
feels a hell of a lot less scary than the 50.
Yeah, the 50,000. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. Well, and that's what would be good for like Polly, like you said, like you're frugal, right? So like, and that's kind of the thing. It's like you,
50 going, what? 11?
Yeah.
yeah. And as you learn, like you'll read through like the red book, but red light, green light, just on your expenses, everything else. That's really what you want to monitor to make sure that you're making money from those expenses. So I'm super frugal. On that side, I mean, like we run, I think we literally don't have any dollars towards marketing at all right now this year. We will next year, but because we wanted to track and see what we could do without any kind of marketing dollars as far as profitability. So moving forward, we know what we need to do. So it's awesome that you are, because you'll be able to track it a whole lot easier to see it without spending it. And then you can start adding those levers in with the marketing pieces once you understand how much money you can make without having marketing. That's how we do it. I'm not saying that's the right way, but
And once you grow, $50,000 a year is a totally reasonable expense amount.
Mhm.
Like very common, yeah.
scary, but fun. All right. Oh boy. Set your goals in command. Oh, perfect timing that Winnie's here. She's a command guru. All right, so let's see here. So in command, so you guys met with Jay last week, is that right? Was Jay the last session
Yeah.
with kind of command 101 and kind of some breakdowns in there? Have you guys really dug into command or just kind of started dabbling? I know it's only week 5 or.
We had one on
or
one.
session. Yeah.
It's pretty good, pretty
Yeah.
good breakdown. It answered a lot of questions, yeah.
I know there's all kinds of help toolbars in there too, and all kinds of tutorials. Did he share YouTube video, Marty Miller's
Like 66.
4.0 66 day? That's a really good one. I've gone through a couple of those versions myself, and kind of just made some note. Like I keep an easy spiral note of that, of which section if I need to go back and look on it. So that's good. All right. So this is saying to demonstrate. I don't know how to get into command here. Wants to do the CGI, Winnie, Delisha.
So
Oh,
if you want to pull up your computer, you can totally do it. You go on the left-hand side, there's a button called reports. It literally has like a little scale.
yeah, actually, I can walk you through it now, just so you guys can, if you have, no, actually, never mind. You just don't have your laptops. So. Go. So they're gonna help I'm on this. Here we go. Do we have a test one, do you know, Delisha? Or Winnie, that we can pull up here? Yeah.
No.
So we're gonna go over this in our individual meetings.
Are you?
Third night.
Okay.
So the premise of this is, through goal setting and command, you can put in the number that y'all just worked out. And the number gets broken down
Further, basic.
further, cost of it, just everything that we just did. And then it breaks it down into monthly, how many conversations, how many leads, how many appointments, and then we can further break it down into weeks. So this week, you need to make X number of contacts, you need to run this many of number of appointments. And so you leave with a very clear understanding of exactly what you should be focusing on each and every day.
So it's cool. So it does it for you. Again, it's like going back into command every, like the CRM should be like your every day. It should be like the first thing you do when you wake up, or not when you wake up, but like, yeah, when you get to the office or wherever your dojo is, like the first thing you want to pull up is the CRM to see where you're at for the day. It's for tracking purposes, right? For running a business, we need to know what our numbers are. So the funnels that they're talking about, this is my solo one. This is on our team one, so none of this is accurate except for the percentages. So I know you guys are far away, but this funnel here shows you how to get down to the bottom. So from leads to contacts to appointment set, appointment kept, agreements, under contract, closed units. So in here, these aren't mine, but I know from over the years, like what percentages I have, how many contacts I need in order to hit a lead, how many leads I need to connect with before I set an appointment. On those appointments, how many are kept, like people actually showing up. So it's all tracking percentages through there. So I know at the end of the day, my number will look different from Duncan's number.
Yeah,
Or it might
it
look different
tracks
from
and
Winnie's
has you
number.
move it through the opportunity pipeline, and it uses, like, it literally tracks your percentages. So if the default is set for, say, 65, and you have a better percentage, it'll switch up to 67, to 68, to 70.
Yep.
So, which is cool.
And it'll show you, yeah, it'll help track the numbers all the way through. So when I said earlier, 90 days was the average that Gary Keller says from start to finish, right? That's the average for the whole industry. This you'll start seeing your targets right through here. And this is where Delisha will start be able to help out as well too, to see where you're at on as far as contacts to leads to the appointments, or the appointments keeping, because there might be a gap somewhere in there. Sometimes the gap could be training. Duncan and I used to role play and script practice every morning from 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. We would just go in the parking lots and just role play script practice, just go through it. That way, when we were on the phone, we knew what we were going to say, we knew we were going to do it, we knew how we were going to close. We made sure that the questions we were asking were the right questions to go on those appointments, to make sure that they're qualified, that they're motivated all the way through there, right? But it's all through the repetition. So that's how we know like what our percentages are on the numbers. That makes business a whole lot easier for us. Kind of like when I was saying the 99 rejections before you get to the 1 yes. Like when you start understanding the numbers, you understand where your business is going at that point, right? So we'll skip the command part here. Delisha will help you guys, right, Delisha?
Yes, yes, Kyle.
What an amazing director and productivity coach.
We did affirmations earlier, and Kyle's affirmation was, "I am beautiful."
You are beautiful.
See?
I am beautiful.
Let's just sing a song now.
You're beautiful.
We'll do that before our first break. Remember, we're being recorded here, which is good. I want to be recorded. All right, so the 80-20 principle. You guys familiar with the 80-20 principle? It's like 100 years old. Yep. So the 1940s, quality control manager, Dr. Huron, documented a life-changing university principle that he called the vital few and trivial many. The idea was that a relatively small percentage of your efforts lead to the vast majority of your results. He attributed some of his findings to the statistical work of the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. He had observed that 80% of the wealth in his country was owned by 20% of the population. As fate would have it, that broadly embraced principle came to be known as Huron's law, but as Pareto's principle, these days we simply call it the 80-20 principle. The idea that 20% of your actions leads to 80% of your results may be one of the most powerful principles you can apply to your life. It's about getting the most from your time and your effort, and it's about maximizing your results. It's about having focus. Does anyone know what we mean by big rocks?
Yeah, because if you put water in first and you can't put any sand in, and then you can't put any pebbles in, and you can't put any rocks in, but if you put in the rocks first, i.e. your bigger goals, then you can put some pebbles in, and you can do some smaller stuff, and then you can put some sand in, and then you can even put a little bit of water in there too. So you gotta start with the big rocks, or else you can't do anything else.
Perfect. Yep. So picture what she's saying. Picture that vase, right? She's putting the big rocks in the vase. Those are the big things, right? So we talked about the one thing earlier in the book. Like, what's that one thing that you need to work? What's the one thing that you're going to do today to push the business forward, right? So that's your rock for the day. Duncan mentioned earlier, he likes to go quarterly, right? So what's Duncan's quarterly rocks? He needs to make sure those quarterly rocks are going in first. Then all the small minutia stuff is everything else. Minutia might be your logo. Minutia might be a business card. Minutia might be this, right? Your big rock should be around your sales. Should be around
Your big,
Legion.
Yes.
It's all about your database. Like, we can't, it's like, we can't say it enough, but we'll keep on saying it, right? But that is the big rocks. That's the only thing that matters, is lead generation, because that's what's growing the business. That's how we're paying the bills. Good description, Winnie. See, I told you guys she was gonna be great for this class today. Let's see here. Paul, you want to read this?
What is the one thing you can do right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary?
So another way to identify your 20% is to ask the question central to the one thing. While asking the question is simple, it can take some practice to dig down and find the best answer. So let's work together through it. So we go back to here. So what successful agents do every day. So we know this is how successful agents spend their time and how you'll spend your time. Remember, everything on the list will have to be done. We're trying to identify what our 20% is, which action will get us the most and best results so that we can do everything else. Looking at these activities, which activity is a successful agent? That's you, the top 20%. Looking at activities, which activity is a successful agent? Let's throw one out there.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Deep,
Yeah.
deep in Thoughts by Jack Handy.
Yeah, I was
It's a great
just-
SNL skit.
Up the board again.
Looking at these activities, which activity is a successful agent's 20% activity, like their top 20% of the day? So all those activities are 100%, like your 100% of the day. What's the top 20% activity?
I mean, should be contacting your database every day, so I guess, yeah, lead generation.
That's a good one. Polly?
And just also setting your goals every day and just making sure you're accomplishing it.
Good, I like it.
Setting goals and lead generation. For
Good,
sure.
good stuff.
Anything on the left-hand side of that column.
Yep.
It's income producing activity.
Yeah, I'd probably say, yep. I kind of put 2 in here too, sort of showing houses because you're out selling business, but yeah. So yeah,
that
let's,
is true. That
so
is
lead
half.
gen, presentations, setting appointments. I've always added, like I was saying with Duncan, script practice and role play is massive. Gary Keller says that too. That should be in there.
That should be.
This is it'll yeah. So good answers, guys. Everybody said lead gen. Hear that, Dean? Everybody said lead gen. Yeah. We've got everybody sign on the dotted line.
Like Jimmy. No, but I love
what
it.
happens.
It's a play on words.
Eyes are live. It's the lead gen for buyers. Look at that. The box went around it. You guys win. All right. So next here's the 401 that I talked about earlier. So we'll review. It's pretty simple, which is what I love about it. It doesn't overcomplicate things, but it's a great way to break down what your goals are from the year to monthly to weekly, to keep you staying on track. Again, I do quarterly, so does Duncan. However, we use the 411 to make sure monthly, weekly, we're staying on track to hit those quarterly goals. So turn to page 7 in your participant guide. So it should probably just be a blank copy, right? It's already be there.
Yeah.
All right, so instruct how to do this. So what we're gonna do here, so this will be the annual goal that you put at the top here. So you guys have that goal number that you had, that financial goal for the year. If you want to write that into your annual goal. So then in the monthly goal, so if you're trying to reach your annual goal, what do you think you would put that number there? Divided by 12. Thank you, Bradford. Know everybody's last name.
I have noticed that. You dropped a Romanowski earlier.
Bill's cousin, Bill's nephew.
It's easier that way.
Old bartending trick. It's either that or you get a nickname that you might not want to have.
Exactly. Right.
Yes, a lot of slicks. So weekly goals. So guys, weekly goals, these are the action steps that you're gonna do to hit each week, to hit the monthly goal, to get your annual goal. So for example, what would you guys put for week 1? Like what's an activity you guys would do for week 1? So remember, this is the list that you're looking at every single week to see what action items you need to do in order to hit your financial goal.
I think lead gen should probably be on there.
Yep. Do you put, would you put a time frame on it?
As far as like how many,
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I know there's a lot of different ways to do it.
I mean, I think I would just set it until my calendar was full. If I didn't have an appointment, spend that time instead of going on one.
Yep.
Setting one.
Yep, same one. So you'd have lead gen and set appointments.
I would just leave them until I had appointments.
Yep.
That's all I mean,
So is that, so what you're saying is, if I'm hearing you right, is that one appointment a day?
you pick it up when I'm throwing out.
So what you might do in there would be put 5 appointments set for week 1.
Yeah, I think realistic, I think it would be 3 with a stretch of 5. I'd like to hit 1 per day, but until I'm effective and.
Because you might hit 5 in one day.
All right, so how many calls would you need to make in order to get your baseline?
I mean, right now, it's about every 14 calls I set in one.
Okay, so 14 times 3, that's not my strong suit. So, or I guess we're not breaking it down during, the day, but, so 42 calls a week.
Strong. Duncan's got a strong sphere of influence, yeah. He's been around town for a while. We've got somewhere.
It's hard to walk into a bar behind Kyle because he's already in his car to the bar.
Vice versa. So yeah, so setting appointments, right? So week 1, right? But what you're doing is for the monthly goal. So it all depends on, again, going back to the financial sheet on how many sides you need to have, how many closes you need to have in that year. So how many appointments do you need in all 4 weeks? This is like, I'm going like standard on how you would do it, right? But this week 1 is the only one you're filling out. So this week I need to hit, for Duncan, we'll use Duncan, he needs to hit 5 appointments. It's going to take him to 42 calls to get there, right? What else would you put in there, Duncan?
If I know I'm doing it that fast, I need to set up time for buyer appointments or seller appointments to have, just to be effective while I'm on those appointments, that's it.
Do you put written contracts in there or closing contracts in there?
No, because it's more about building the rapport. I mean, it's obviously depending on who's coaching the class, they're gonna tell you to get the appointment.
Gotcha.
There are certain people that I'll sit in front of that I'm not going to push a piece of paper in front of. I'll build that rapport long before I ever ask for
Yeah.
that business.
Gotcha.
I have all that value. So yes, I'd like to set it and have them sign immediately, but at the same time, not every client's the same. So,
Good. Would you guys put preview homes on here?
but yeah.
Handwritten note cards? 2 good ones too. Again, it's like that visual thing, everything So you can track it, right? So you're going through every single day. If you know that you're hitting those measures, you know, if you're checking off those lists every single day, like Ignite tells you to, right? Eventually it's going to come. It's going to come. It's proven. That's why this course has been doing it for 30+ years. It's going to come by doing it that way. Some of it seems old school. It works though. People love getting those handwritten note cards right now. Even if it's something small in there, even if it's a business card in there, even if it's a, you know, a silly joke, whatever it looks like, people love getting some piece in the mail. So that's the first week on that, right? So that's just the weekly goals. So that's all you're filling out is just that first week, right? To hit those goals. That way, if I'm Duncan and I only set the 3 appointments in week 1, how many appointments am I gonna have to set in week 2 in order to hit my financial goal? 7, right? So you guys can see where it's going all the way down the line, week to week to week, like you're tracking yourself each week, what you need to do. Because you hit 3 this week, doesn't mean next week it goes back to 5. Like if he's truly intentional about hitting that financial goal of what he's trying to do, pay off his mortgage in 2 years, then he's got to make sure he's adding those pieces to the next week following there, right? And what you start seeing is you start seeing trends when you're hitting and when you're missing. What if he hits all of his goals and yet his financial piece isn't there? Like what do you think Duncan would do? Like at that point, what I would do at that point is what am I missing in my business? What am I doing wrong? And again, it goes back to maybe my scripts are role playing or my phone conversations are right. Maybe I'm not setting the right expectations with my clients. But with accountability or someone like Delisha or someone like myself, I'm ALC here, like I love to help out, like on that side. But you can start seeing trends on like what your business is looking like. And if you're hitting your marks, but you're not getting the results, something's missing. And it might just take one piece of help or one piece of information that might close that gap a little bit. Could be help on your buyer presentation or your seller presentation. But again, this is just a tracking device to keep you on there to hit those goals. And that way you can show what your actions are every week. So it's not like, oh, what did I do? Oh, I made some phone calls. Oh, I door knocked, but I'm not sure how many people I talked to while door knocking. I'm not sure how many cards I gave out. No, like you should start tracking those numbers too. Like, did you hit 5 houses and had 3 conversations? Like these are numbers of business. Like this is such a business. It's not just something where you just go out and hope your neighbors and your family buys from you. Because sometimes they don't, which sucks.
Yeah, they definitely cannot count on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, like it is not gonna work. By having clarity on your annual, monthly, weekly, daily goals, you wake up with a sense of urgency because you know what needs to be done. Tasks expand to fill the amount of time that they are given. So identify a time, whether it's 9 to 11, whatever in your day where you know you're going to get your lead generation done. Be unapologetic about it, protect it, don't let anything interfere with that time, because that is your one thing. That is the one thing that you do so that if you do it effectively, everything else becomes unnecessary. And that's the whole secret to real estate. You have to be focused, you have to lead generate. I don't care what goes on, except for like a medical emergency or like a flood or something. Just, you owe it to yourself. You are here for a reason. Treat this like a business, and the sky's the limit. Sorry.
No, I love it. Man,
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say, most people
remember start climbing.
When I came into this business, I was looking at a number of the overalls, like, okay, I need to make this per year. I look at trying to make that number per month now,
Yeah.
and it's like, the years.
God,
it's
once you
fucking
just
gone.
get focused, like
Yeah,
get out of your own way, get focused, do the work.
because you can make it in a month.
Yes,
I
you
mean,
can.
I remember that one bold class, it was like, I think the number was like 40 grand. And it was like, can you make this in a year? Can you make this in a month? Can you make this in a week?
Mhm.
Can you make this in a day? And on my 4th year, I checked off all the boxes, but it was like 75 grand. I made like 75
Yep.
grand in a day. I made it that month. I made it that year. And I checked off all the boxes and it was like, holy shit. And from that day forward, it was never, I had a year to do this because now I can do it in 30 days if I want to.
It's just having conversations,
That's it.
real estate related conversations. That's all it is. And so when Delisha was talking about time frame, right? It's like you make those time frames every day. Going back to the self-awareness, recognize like when your energy is in the day too. don't think you can put that up there. If you're a morning person, you can't be putting 4 to 6 every day for your Legion because you're going to be exhausted by that time.
Yeah.
You're going to be so worn out by that point, like, or vice versa. If you're a night owl, don't try to keep up with the Joneses when everybody else is doing their Legion from 9 to 11. That might not work for you. It's not gonna, you gotta recognize your own energy, like, and when you're doing it and when you're gonna be best with these people, like, cause they want to see energy from you. Not spazzy stuff, but like good energy, like, if they're, I mean, yeah, they want to see good energy. Write that down. Don't be spazzy.
No staggy stuff.
Spazzy.
No
That's it.
spazzy.
That's good. Because like myself and probably Duncan too, I mean, coming from hospitality business, like both of us, like I don't make any phone calls before 11 o'clock. Like, all my people ain't waking up until noon, maybe, on that side. At least the people in my world are. So I know I'm getting everything else done. I'm here every morning by 7 o'clock in the morning, but all the minutia stuff, like I'm working backwards on it. Probably gets, I've been in just long enough to recognize I have to do that on the back end or on the front end, because I'm not going to do it after the Legion. I'm going to spend a lot of energy on my Legion later in the day. I mean, it's going to be around happy hours, cocktails, food, whatever it looks like. So I know I need to be present for that. So that's why I get everything done early on in the morning by getting here. So really identify where your strong suit is in the schedule, especially if you have families. I know people with families and kids that can be distracting. I don't have any, so I'm fortunate with that. But I know, I mean, I'll use Duncan a lot because Duncan's close with me, but he's got 2 beautiful little girls and an awesome wife who's an entrepreneur, and schedule can get crazy sometimes, you know, and trying to maneuver around that. So like, you really have to set, like Alicia was saying, like your Legion space, like that is the one space that cannot be touched every day. Otherwise you falter. Everything else, the minutia, let it go. It's that Legion just has to happen. So does somebody else have any questions on the 411? Does it seem pretty simple on like how it works? And you can do it for anything. Like you can do it. I mean, it could be financial. It could be trip-based, savings-based, debt paid off. I mean, like there's so many different things that you could put in there besides just what your finances are. Like every week 4, Kyle travels. Okay. All right. So here's the reality. The day-to-day life of successful agents is very repetitive. They know that their routine produces the results they need to live the life they want. Often that's enough to make them love the grind. There are many of you in the room who, once you start seeing your work pay off, will love the grind. You will enjoy honing your system and skills to compete at the highest level. There are others maybe in this room who will never love the grind, but that's okay. That doesn't mean you're doomed to fail. Even those of you who find you love it will have days when you need more of a push to motivate yourself. I want to give you something for those times. I'm going to ask you to do something that may feel a little silly at first, but is a crucial part of building careers worth having, businesses worth owning, and lives worth living. Affirming your big life. Oh, these are talking about affirmations.
I thought we were gonna hug or something.
Man, I mean, like, let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. All right, so I'll read through this and we'll decide. All right, so we're going to create for ourselves a little ritual. Think back to your big life and the goals that you set for yourself. This was the numbers earlier, the circle and the rectangle grid. Think about one of those people or causes that you named as something that you care deeply about. I want you to use that person or or the thing you care about to create an affirmation. You're going to say the affirmation aloud whenever you begin a new task. The key to creating a powerful affirmation is to be specific. Tie the activity you are doing to the greater goal and remind yourself why your work matters. Let's see here. So let's say part of your big life is ensuring your mom is well cared for as she ages. And let's say that one way you want to hold to that, her paying off her house, is I want you to write an affirmation that you will say out loud before every call you make as you lead generate. For instance, you could say, I'm making this call to provide for my mom by paying off her house because she provided for me and I want to show her I appreciate her. It's a long affirmation.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It is. If you say that every time, well, that's,
Yeah.
You're not gonna let it get a lot of cold.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Wow.
no.
The script's gonna be really good on your affirmation.
Yeah. Or let's say you want to support a charity. You could say, I'm making this call to support the Ronald McDonald House by paying for families to stay there because I want to reduce the suffering of families with sick children. It's pretty strong too. Do you feel the difference between making calls for 3 hours a day because you have to and making calls for 3 hours a day because you want to take something off the plate of a family dealing with catastrophic illness, or because you want your mother to feel loved and safe. How different will that call go? How different will your business look? So y'all, that's just like having purpose about like your business and life, like anyways, right? Like find, like if you haven't found your purpose yet, I mean, it could take some soul digging to do it, but it sure makes things a lot easier when you know, again, that vision, that North Star, but when you're putting a purpose behind it, what you're doing every day, what those outcomes look like. I mean, there's nothing stronger and more powerful than like actually having a purpose. For a lot of people, it's given. I mean, for me, it's giving back. Well, it's connecting. Like I know like if I'm not connecting people, like it's like game over. Like I feel lost. Many can attest to that too. Connect. For Duncan, I know it's giving back. I mean, we've done Ronald McDonald House multiple times together and fed and made so many people happy there. But like walking away from stuff like that, like that's purposeful stuff. Like to give back. Like we can't take all the money with us one day, right? So I think with these affirmations, if you can tie purpose to it, like what really drives you, whether it's the positive or the negative side of it, you know, if you're saying it out loud before every call or just in the morning, like whenever you're doing it, it's really going to change your day, even though it might feel silly. It's kind of fun. I talk to myself a lot.
The quote that changed my business, and it was Maya Angelou, and it was people, she said, people will never remember what you say or how you said it, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And when I changed my mindset on that one, my real estate game changed, and that's stopped thinking about that.
Yep, that's great. Give back. Any ahas about affirmations, y'all? Have you guys ever done affirmations before? Yes. Sam? I got any business. I did. Do you? Yeah, I didn't until I got into the business. I thought it was the craziest thing in the world. I'm like, whatever. I'm not doing this. I'm not saying it out loud. I'm not looking in the mirror like that. But that's where my mindset was, right? Like I had no clue. I wasn't open to the thought, you know, I wasn't vulnerable enough to do stuff like that, you know, like put yourself out there. Like, who cares, right? But y'all already done it. So, Winnie, what's your favorite affirmation before I move on?
Don't shrink yourself for others, or like I am something to the effect of that. Oh, there's so many. How you do anything is how you do everything. There we go.
Good. All right. Accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. Another quote from The One Thing, and this book is everywhere. I feel like you guys should probably look into this book, right? Might even have this book at the office, maybe up front. So goals without accountability are just wishes. We're more likely to do what we've said we're going to do if we know we must answer to someone. So y'all in the classroom find an accountability partner in the room. This will be, let's see, so y'all need to find an accountability partner in the room. And once you pair up, you should share your 411s with each other, which we didn't do earlier, but you can give kind of a brief on what you are going to put in there for the 411. Identify the annual, monthly, and weekly goals. So annual, monthly, you wrote down. Weekly goals, we kind of briefly talked about, but maybe you jot some down. So, and after that, in the calendars, you should set up a time to check in with each other and discuss the progress to celebrate each other's victories and encourage through opportunities. Do you have any accountability stuff? Is that set up yet, or is that further down the path?
It is set up, and we'll talk about it
Cool.
after
So we skip this part.
on Friday after Ignite. But yeah, so after Ignite, we're gonna have our goal setting one-on-one, and then you will join either a pre-existing with the accountability group, or we will create a new one where we will be doing exactly that.
Yep.
So based on the goals that you set, we're gonna break it down weekly, real specific, daily, and then it's a 30-minute structured Zoom meeting once a week. The first 5 minutes, we report numbers, talk about any wins. If there's a topic that one person or the group is challenged by, we kind of work that out as well.
Challenges are fun. Have you guys had accountability partners before, whether it's like sports, school, business? That kind of stuff, yeah. No? No, yeah, probably not. Ooh, a couple no's. Is that
Sports?
yeah, sports? Does that make you guys nervous at all when you talk about accountability? Anybody?
Even like a gym buddy, like somebody that you go like run with is like totally your
Yeah.
an accountability buddy,
I guess so.
you know?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, when you have to actually do what you say you're gonna do and have
Based on
someone.
somebody else's pressure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, you didn't like telling me, yeah, it's horrifying, so, you know, the purpose is to not shame you into doing it, but, you know,
Figure out how we can make it
yeah,
easier.
figure out where the disconnect is.
Well, it's also like when I've done it in the past, like in companies that I've worked for, like my peer groups and other leaders. You form a relationship where, like, for me, and I don't know if everyone, that for me, it was, I didn't want to let that other person
Oh,
down.
1000%,
Yeah.
I didn't want to
yeah.
let that other person down.
Especially if you're a cog in the wheel, I mean, if you're like
Yeah.
part of it.
So that was like a driving force for me, was to
It's like,
not
I'm like,
let someone
I
else
was
Yeah.
down.
literally need to Google that, did I say that?
Yeah, it could be scary with like, with accountability, but I think it really holds us to like our own standards of what we're trying to set and our own
Yeah, 'cause
goals.
then
Like,
the goals
like if we're gonna
set.
speak it, then like, then actually do it. Cause I'm sure we all know people in our lives somewhere, you know, good, bad, or whatever.
That's
that-
not the right thing, by the way.
Or,
Sorry,
yeah,
don't repeat it.
or they talk the big game, right? However, they're not following up with it. It can get kind of exhaustive, right? So like, just like look at yourself that way too. So like when you're putting it out there, just find that accountability, somebody who's gonna hold you to it. It makes my armpit sweat. Sarah Gallagher, SNL. You guys ever seen that skit? Look it up.
Yeah.
Every time I speak in front of big audiences, I talk about Sarah Gallagher just right off the rip. So the big guy.
But I will tell you, so last week was the first round of with the accountability groups, and everyone showed up, everyone, the first session was to just get everyone's wheels turning, think about your 90-day goal, 30, get them to be, you know, by yesterday, and the emails and the goals that I got from everyone, were much more well thought out than at the beginning of Ignite. So just even going through the process, it gets you focused, it gets you thinking, instead of saying, yeah, I want to make 100 grand, it's
such a
great,
bullshit
how is that gonna happen?
Totally bullshit.
And then,
Safe
you know,
space.
you back it down and you're like, okay, cool, so this is what I need to do.
Oh, cause this is my bills amount.
Yeah, and it's
Like,
bite-sized
yeah.
pieces, but being in the group, you essentially have, you know, between 5 and 7 other essentially accountability partners. So it builds, you know, we're meeting once a week for 90 days. So it's a good little support system.
What Winnie means by the 100K in the BS is like when I first got in the business, I didn't know what number I was gonna be looking for. So
You
I
don't know
said,
what you don't know.
so I said 100K. Like, oh man, if I could say I'm making 6 digits, you know, like it was all like perception. I'm cool, right? But that was the number I chose just because of that. Like, oh, I want to make 6 digits. So I think like the longer you're in it, like the more like you defined on it, but it's a high percentage. What was Vince saying? Like what's the 100K is the standard number, right?
It
Like when
is
people get in the
what almost
business,
everybody
like
says at real estate
if you come in,
school.
because
And
you don't know
that's-
what you don't know yet, like at the front end. So like all these tasks that we're talking about, like the tracking trajectories, all that kind of stuff, and filling out the forms really helps us understand like where we're going with it. So it's
I remember I did a guided one, and it literally came out to I needed to make 101,490 in order to achieve my goal, and I was like, it's not bullshit. But,
real.
but I literally backed out and like, I put my cell phone bill in there. I mean, it was like literally, I put all my student loans in there, like to pay them off, and, you know, so it was like real. But it mattered more.
Polly, Winnie's also frugal.
I am cheap. We've talked about
Also, it's not-
that.
I am too, like until it comes to travel, yeah, travel and food, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, except for food.
All right, so let's see here. Frugal. I love the word. frugal.
Travel and food. Travel and food.
All right, so ahas to achievement. So turn to page 9 in your participant guide. So on that page, the goal of our time together is to help you think, feel, act, and use what you've learned to ignite your passion and help you achieve your big why. So in these categories, write down your ahas in these categories. A couple notes for yourself, these 4 categories. We'll take just a minute, or maybe just one in each category. Perfect. Y'all want to throw out one answer each? See if we some ahas. Polly, we'll start with you in that pressure.
I think just like about like how this business is like what you make of it. So if you have a certain goal, that's, higher than everyone in here, like you have to work hard to get to that goal. Like it's, just what makes you comfortable, what it works for you, and then just setting those goals and making sure you accomplish those goals.
There's always the larger goal, but in order to accomplish that, you gotta accomplish those small goals first. I think that was a big factor for me because obviously we always have that large, hey, we gotta sell 14, 20 houses, but setting those smaller goals is a bigger factor first. I think that can help you get that larger goal first.
That's awesome.
That helped me get there.
So part two of that, what today so far would you use to work backwards on that? Was there a system model or tool that we did?
Kind of like what Duncan said, I need to get 1 appointment, 2 appointments a
Yep.
week in order to, again, a small goal.
Awesome. So it's a 4-1-1.
Yep.
Yep, put it all in
Get
there.
to that large goal right there, yeah.
Duncan Master?
I don't know if it was just today, but just limiting beliefs. I used to think that there were certain things that would stop me from doing things. And then finally I said, fuck everyone's opinion, I'm gonna do this shit anyway. And now I'm just able to do it, and I don't give a shit what other people think. I kind of laugh at the. So many years, like the group that we worked with, one of the guys, I love him to death, but he just kept telling me, he's like, you're never gonna sell real estate with facial hair. I've got 4 fucking years, and I'm like, it's 7 million, I'm like, yes, so actually.
This is our thing to say.
Suck it, yeah, no, I mean,
It's also, it's 2021, like,
I love the doubts though, like for me, it pushes me, keep saying shit, like keep saying it, like it's poster board shit, but I'm gonna keep looking at the knock it down.
It's true. The doubters do drive up.
There are doubters in this business, but they are not in my corner.
We've been accountability partners before, so it's fun to know like how we can lever and like move different things. And I throw some doubt Duncan's way and then he'll be back on track real quick. Very quickly. All right. What's up next? Let's see. So what's in here? So building daily habits. Build your database, script practice, lead gen, contract practice. That's optional. You'll probably work on that with Joseph, I'm sure, and Alicia with contract writing. All right. So goals to set your career on fire. Alicia, you already went through this today with them, right? Did you guys go through numbers at all, or should we go through these
I haven't
now?
gotten all the numbers, but.
Okay.
Actually, Eric. What did you do last week with
We're throwing those bubbles.
10 conversations?
I wrote 5 handwritten notes, soft. Look, I believe I saw 4 houses. I definitely spoke to at least 10 people a day, so,
Awesome.
and I did not put, obviously, I think I put in about 30 some contacts. So I
Good job, man.
didn't it all, but I did, I think I a good amount for getting started, but I definitely spoke to a lot of people, yeah.
Cool.
For
Good
sure,
stuff.
yeah.
I had about 15 contacts. I talked to people,
How many?
like socializing this weekend, like just talking to them about the business and, trying to get comfortable with those conversations.
that's one of my
So,
hardest things
5 people?
to track.
Yeah, it's hard to
I
track
would
it. but-
say probably at least like 7 or 8, I would say. I can't preview any homes yet, can I?
Do you have Century Card?
Mm-mm.
Well,
So I haven't done it.
do you have your license number?
Mm-mm,
Okay, what about handwritten notes?
mm-mm.
There was one thing that somebody did, and I don't know if you remember this, because I suck at remembering to track my conversations. And it was something like, it was pennies, it was freaking pennies. You had like 100 pennies in your, like 10 pennies in your right pocket and 0 pennies in your left, and every time you talk to somebody, just put it in your left pocket.
Hmm.
You know, like something like stupid
Yeah.
and mundane like that, you're like, oh,
Good idea.
nobody will ever notice, and it's so easy, so that might be
just.
That's a good, that's a good trigger too, because
Yeah.
sometimes in different things,
And
like if
you'll
your
be
hands in your
thinking
pocket,
and you're like, shoot.
Let's
I
top
can
of
always
mind.
say something.
Yeah.
it's top of
Yeah.
mind, whether it's pennies or something else, like whatever, yeah, it's good to have something,
I've
a
seen
physical
those other
attachment.
things.
Well, what did,
This will be for bold.
what did Finnegan used to do before, is it? Okay, I won't get too deep in this, but like physical items, different things like that, it could be touch, smell, it could be a lot of different things. There's a kid that used to be in Charleston, he sold more homes than anybody else in Charleston, he was 25 years old, kid was a wizard. He's up in Charlotte now, doing up in Charlotte, he's a top, I mean, he's 27 now, crushes it, kills it, like, he's a wizard. Before every appointment, he's got, I forget what he was using, but it was like a boomstick. It's like a menthol thing that he smells, but the smell behind it, not only does it heighten his awareness, but it also triggers the thought of getting the appointment. Like what he associates that smell now with getting the contract, and it heightens his awareness right before the appointment.
So when he gets to the paperwork signed, and he walks out, he'll take a smell, and he's like, oh, the adrenaline, like the door, it's here, and then he'll do it right before he goes in again, to set himself up.
It sounds good. He sold his, if I remember right, his top year here, he sold 128 listings. Y'all, that's pretty impressive. That's a closing every, that's a closing every 3 days. Like that's nuts, right? Like, can you imagine like a closing like every 3 days? Like something he's doing right, you know, on that side, whether it's smelling the
That's a
boomstick or
good
not.
idea,
But
though.
I
You
mean,
can create,
Yeah,
you
I
can create
yeah.
a scenario, an experience like that. You can, you know, even if it's like for instance, there's like this one shop that I like, that after every closing, I would go to this one shop, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
Things like
Yeah,
that.
focus there.
So everybody got their numbers in, perfect. Is there room for improvement on our numbers?
There's always room.
Delete out the 20 people. in
Always room.
So think about these 4 items. Say if you worked in a bar or a retail store and your job, the whole reason you were there was to do those 4 things. You'd get fired if you didn't do them, right? The boss would be like, what have you done this whole time? Like, you're out. Real estate, it's your job. This is your primary source of income. And if we can't get those things done, like, just get them done, you know, because this lays the groundwork for your mindset, your daily habits, your focus. Take the rest of the day just to reframe, I guess, just put on a different pair of lenses and realize that this is your job, come hell or high water, that has to be done. If you don't have MLS access, figure out open houses, go look at, there's a ton of open houses every weekend, or ask one of us.
Yeah, well, totally, that's fine. I
We can
definitely
go- we
plan
can
on
go
doing
with
open
the
houses
houses.
as soon as I get my license number, but.
Just like we're not
Yeah.
gonna pay.
But just these daily things, like, it's your job, just think of it as, would I get fired if? Yeah.
Yeah, if it's the mundane, if it feels like the mundane, like it talked about in here, you know, the drive for it, figure out a way to gamify it. You know, like how can you challenge yourself through accountability or through how you're looking at the numbers, whatever it looks like? How can you change the way you're looking at it? What does Annika say? Change the way you look at things you look at change, right? So like when you're looking at these numbers, like figure out different ways to do it. If it seems like it's like heavy, if it's a heavy burden is what it feels like, well, switch your mindset around it. Like figure out how you can adjust it.
I like the visual of it is good too, because that's another accountability besides a person, you know, like having a
Yeah.
dry rates for or whatever, and then you can jot down.
But even the affirmation, I'm making this call so I can, you know, yada, yada, like, that is huge. So instead of, if you don't know what to say, come to me. Let's knock that out now. Let's get comfortable. So if it's a scripts thing, that's so easy. If you don't have note cards, go to the Walgreens, get some note cards. If you need help putting your folks in command, ask. So let's figure out just kind of where the disconnect is. I want y'all to crush it, and it starts doing these daily tasks.
There's a book called Equanimity, and it literally talks about how the only way to get freedom is discipline. And every entrepreneur is running away from discipline because they think that they want freedom, and the only way to achieve freedom is through discipline.
the end, and I was like, dang it.
I mean, I know my biggest block is that, like, I'm very much like a structured plan the work the plan person,
Yeah.
and I have not been organizing myself to the, like, if I sat down before I went to bed at night or first thing in the morning and wrote down what I needed to do that day, I will go through and do it and check it off. I just have not
So that's-
forced myself to do
Set an
it.
alarm.
I've got an alarm that
tomorrow.
goes off every night at 8 o'clock. It's
Yeah.
like, know where you're going. And I literally will make my day for the next day, take 10 minutes.
So maybe set an alarm, and we just have to create our own accountability a lot of
Yeah.
times.
And I'm great at doing it when I structure it, I will follow my own plan. I'm
Let's
just-
set
The,
time.
the ultimate, the
I have
ultimate
to do
accountability
it.
is giving somebody access to your calendar.
Ooh, that's so
Or
true.
putting a dollar amount behind it that makes you really uncomfortable.
Because if you do
That's
that,
what
because
I
if you're like, hey, Kyle, I'm gonna text you every night at 10 o'clock, picture of my calendar screen of what the next day looks like. You don't do it, like whatever repercussion, you know what I mean? Like, but sure as heck, you'll probably more likely to do it and have it buttoned up.
And that reminder app on your phone too, right?
By the way, but Joseph, you guys met Joseph?
He's kind of a big deal.
Hey, love that. All right, so we're wrapping up this section here before the next packet, and we'll take a good break for you guys to do whatever. The last part of this was script practice. I'm guessing that you guys will probably do that. It says in here to do like role playing stuff, and I'm guessing you guys will get to that from what I was told. Has anybody role played script practice yet or before other jobs, other careers? Who's the noobs? Probably not. Not teacher.
So when we would have to do like a TE and stuff,
Oh, cool. Yeah. See you
Yeah.
there.
You were a teacher though, you were playing with us.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Timeshares.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Love script practice and role play.
And so, with the two of you, when you said would just meet, parking lot,
Yeah, for like 2 years, we were probably, 7:30 to 8, or was it 7:30 to 7:38?
7 to 7:30.
7 to 7:30, yeah. So we just walk the parking lot. We do everything from FSBOs, expireds, Facebook leads, Zillows, like all the different kinds of like lead sources, friends, family members that might not want to use us, so it was every script, and literally it was just like drawn out of a hat. We were like, okay, like what are we working on? And
Creating all kinds of objections. And it was
that
ironic.
was the Gamify.
Yeah, because ironically, it was like, we would come up with something stupid on that phone call, and then as soon as we both got on the lines, one of us would hit that same conversation. I'm like, fuck, we just went over this. And then I immediately had my hand, and it was like, I just set an appointment because of what we had done 5 minutes ago.
The key is like writing down like objections that you're getting from people. And if you start seeing a trend with those objections, like I think there was like 4 pillars of objections, a lot of times it's money, a lot of times it's I've got a realtor, a lot of times, yeah. So once you can identify at the beginning of the conversation, like which objection they're going down, like you can gear towards those pillars, like once you get further along with it, right? Then you know what the answers are going to be. You're going to know how to overcome those objections. So maybe when you're getting those objections at the beginning, if you are, jot them down, write them down. Like it's a good way to like bring into the classroom or bring into the office. Hey, Kyle, hey, Duncan, hey, Delisha, like how would you overcome this one? Because people have been there, done it before, and it's easy. It's easy once you know what it is, right? And once you like practice through it. So yeah, so we did it for like 2 years, and it got to the point, like, give me 7 rejections, give me 6 rejections. So I mean, like these are like long role play script practices where he's telling me no 6, 7, 8 times. Like it gets exhausting when you're hearing no. I think typical agents, I mean by like the averages, I think it's like 1.5 rejections. They're like, okay, bye. Like how are you gonna build trust? Like how are you gonna work through problem solving after like a rejection and a half? I know it's scary at first, but like once you start handling these objections, then everything gets really easy. And it's fun too. Like you just know how many, I think it's either 6 or 7 objections is what it takes to get to the yes.
On the 7, it goes up to like. I think
Yeah,
it's
for FSBOs and expires.
83% or 88%.
Yeah. Any questions from that first section? Set goals that matter, guys. I'm sure you guys need to take a break. Go have a. Said that quietly. Okay, let's take 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes. You guys go with that for just 5 minutes?
Yeah.
What do you guys want? I don't know what you guys are doing typically.
I'd say 5 because it's,
Trust me, I know.
Okay.
I'm gonna go through this next one real quick.
Okay.
This is bread and butter buyer consultations.
no, this is, I was lead buyer specialist for like a really, really big, huge team, so I'm really excited to do this.
Oh, boy.
So you're genuinely why I'm in here.
Oh, boy. I'm a consultation.
No pressure.
No pressure.
No guidance.
One of my friends met Kyle and he literally said he is a gifted speaker. He said gifted.
Nice guy too. He recognized me. Shocker, at a bar. I'm Kyle Walker.
They've seen pictures.
I know, yeah. What else are you guys learning? How was the first week of Ignite? I know like we all present differently and teach differently, so it's kind of exciting to see the nuances.
Yeah.
It's been good. Yeah. You just came on board too, right?
Mhm.
About a week
Yeah, so
ago.
I like signed everything like Friday and last Friday and then started Monday.
Yep.
And
Well, so you
then,
should get your number this week, probably.
yeah, so they just cashed my check,
Okay,
like
cool.
today.
If you do it tonight, the
So,
LLR website
hopefully-
will probably give you your number.
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you
you
get
get
it
the
mailed.
number ahead of time.
If you go into LLR and type in your name and type in Charleston, like under the real estate sales associate license, your first and last name,
Okay,
it should pop up. If they cash your check, I think you'll at least get your license number today and then it'll be in the mail in the next 5
Yeah,
to
so
6
you don't
days.
need the
That
actual
would
piece
be
of paper.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, you need the license number to be able to get your MLS and your century card and blah.
The only reason you need that paper license is if you're trying to get into Dunes West or,
Del Webb.
one of these country clubs that has a security gate that's gonna require your driver's license
Otherwise,
for
I'd never.
business,
oh,
real
wow.
estate card, yeah.
So do keep it in your wallet. Okay.
I was
Oh,
curious about
yeah.
that. You carry yours with you?
Or just know when you're going to at least.
I
take
just
it.
keep mine in my car.
Yeah, yeah, just keep it there, yeah.
And are we allowed to laminate those?
Yeah.
No, there's weird lamination.
Oh, I love lamination.
Oh, yeah.
You can laminate those.
You know, it's like some things they say like you can't laminate,
Yeah, your
I
your
wouldn't
vaccine card.
see
you
why
can't
you-
laminate.
which is stupid.
But as soon as I got mine, I walked out and dropped it in a puddle of
I
this.
know.
So, yeah, it's not like, I don't know how the hell you're gonna deal with this one. Yeah, good luck. Reprint, please.
Yeah, so it'll be more short. Yeah, and then you have to take the most boring MLS class ever, and then another boring.
Boring MLS class, boring National Association of Realtors class.
Yeah.
In the MLS
Century
class,
lot.
what do they teach?
So you've
They
already done all
really,
that.
they teach you. a
And the day
little
that you
bit
do
of
all
how
that,
to
just
use
keep
it,
your
but
credit
they-
card handy, because you'll just be firing that
So,
sucker
like,
off.
They
like
teach you like
crazy.
how.
Is
Do you
it right now?
remember?
Is it
What the MLS
CMAs
was?
or-
I have a
They did
bottle
not
of wine
think
while I'm doing that.
It was pretty bad, yeah, they didn't really help us that much, but, somebody who sat over there, helped us out. She did something on Friday, which was really helpful. And then,
That you should have felt a couple of different ways to do
that
them.
was really helpful, yeah, and then I think, yeah, Greg did, I don't know how to really use them all, so he did a lot of stuff. for us, you know.
This one really
Oh.
don't teach you
Bro,
anything.
I was like, bro,
Oh, it's a.
I fell asleep. I woke up, I was like, damn it.
It's not, yeah.
It really is not informative, like to the point where I don't even remember what I learned.
I don't think so.
I
Two bowls
literally,
of
I
pork
remember
ragu with
where I was
gnocchi.
sitting because I was falling asleep halfway. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
hard to
literally
do.
what
See, I sent you that picture from,
Like, I would
Who
actually
knows?
be
Oh, yeah.
and then you wrote bro, and I wrote bro.
I am,
Put
I am
If you don't know, I love you.
underutilizing daylights out of it.
the bird I thought.
I know how to do a one-line
Tito's.
CMA, how to input stuff, how to do reverse prospecting. Nobody knows about reverse prospecting. That shit's awesome.
This is a safe space here.
So I feel I have to leave at 11, because I have an appointment at 11:30.
Sounds good. Oh, congrats.
I feel
Or a
bad
good
for-
appointment?
Oh, it's no, it's a,
Oh, it's not a good
A
one.
personal, not a business.
it's a fun doctor kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I'd be happy to let someone sit in for me.
Are you able to stay?
Yeah, This is the
Friday?
only day that
Okay,
yeah. The rest of the week I'm good. It's just today.
I'm gonna be there Friday.
This was
so-
a scheduled prior to this class. day
Yeah.
schedule.
If we have lunch, Butler College is sponsored lunch on Friday.
Ryan's a good
Save
time,
that,
too.
And then we'll go door knocking after.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna go door knocking after.
Okay, sounds good.
Nice to meet you. I'll
Nice to
see
meet
you
you as
around
well.
here. Contact information if you have any questions
wrote
about
it down.
today's course.
I've been writing down everyone's contact information.
It's good. You utilize this. Whenever you're in a pinch, you already need to know answers, so it'll be good.
I don't mind raising my hand.
Better to know, absolutely.
You have it. It should be like a one, they start, it's a 6-digit number, starts with a 1.
Uh-huh.
That's totally it, you're official. Well, sometimes it's fine.
Wow. They were saying it was gonna take like 3 weeks, so I just thought it was gonna take a lot longer.
You got it.
Yay!
So
Ooh, that's a bad number.
What, is it a 666?
Yes!
Oh,
Are you not saying
No, Winnie wants to trade you.
Oh, I want 666.
I like darker
Oh,
things.
girl.
I'm just saying, I listen to a lot of.
Red hair,
You
black
know,
heart.
you said black
Two.
heart.
It says 1, 2, 4, 6, 6.
Black heart.
1, 2, 4, 6, 6.
That's right, 1, 2, 4,
I
3,
wanted
9,
to
6,
say
7,
366, and I was like, damn
That's like
it.
30,000 people.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, great. What's your number?
99414.
Yeah.
Yeah, 107366. That is a lot. Remember, you gotta make it past your first year, then your third year. These are your gauntlets.
1 and 3. All
That's it. 1 and 3, those are the big ones.
right, you guys ready for buyer consultations?
Let's do
I'll
it.
try to zip through to respect your time here. So this one is on buyers consultations. Back of the classroom. Girls in the back. All right, so the goal over time for this is to learn how to prepare and deliver a buyer presentation to get a signed buyer representation agreement. Are you guys familiar with the 2 agreements on the buyer side, seller side yet? Yep, I know you've done investment before, so you probably had to sign one at some time, hopefully. So Polly, what they are is, so there's a buyer agency agreement and a seller listing agent agreement. So are you familiar? Good, perfect. All right, so why is it important to get a buyer's agency agreement signed?
So you can get paid
And what else?
to have that representation.
What else?
Fiduciary responsibility.
All the good stuff.
And also so that they know it's like, I tell them, I'm like, this means we're going steady. We're not married, but this means we're going steady, so that they know like you're there. So I feel like it's like a psychological.
Yeah, I think that's my most important thing when I get one signed, is to establish that business relationship. Because everybody can say all day, you're gonna be my agent, don't worry, I don't need to sign it no matter what. But what do they say, like in a pinch, or if you're not around, or if they don't think of you, they call that Zillow because they saw a house on there, not realizing what they're doing because you haven't explained it right. They could be talking to that agent on the other side, and that agent now has the opportunity to bring them in, because even though they told you that you're going to be their agent, you don't have any kind of representation agreement signed with them. So you haven't established a business relationship with them. Duncan and I in the past tracked a lot of our percentages on buyer agency agreement. Everybody does business differently. Unless I know the person, I'll only show one house to that person the first time I meet them without getting buyer's representation. It's a standard that I have with it every time we're going to sign it. I've got a long buyer's consultation. It takes a really long time to get through it. But I think the more thorough it is on the front end, it just sets a lot of the expectations and gets a lot of the questions out on the back end that you're going to experience for the next 90 days of it. So I've been challenged before when people have said, oh, your buyer's consultation is that long. I mean, obviously read your audience in that consultation. However, I also know what I'm going through in that consultation that sets up my buyers the best possible way for myself and for them. So for me, it's taking the time on the front end in order for everything else to travel smoothly through, because they'll reflect back to it throughout the process. Oh yeah, I remember when you said that. Oh yeah, you did say this was going to happen. Oh yeah, you did say that was going to be on the inspection report. So all of a sudden you look like the hero, right? But all you're doing was setting them up properly as a business person would. It's not just hopping in the car and going to show a property, which by the way isn't very safe either. Meaning, never mind, I won't put that up. Buyers consultations.
Well, do you mean because of COVID, like you're not gonna get shanked or anything? Like, what do you mean by not safe?
No, I just
There's no way in hell anybody is ever getting in my car.
yeah, I think it's just knowing who you're working with is what I mean, like on that
I mean,
side,
it's like my
right?
best girlfriend.
Like if somebody comes in, I mean, like just know who the person is on that side. Like try to meet them at first for coffee out at a place, whether it's the market center, coffee shop, somebody else with you, as opposed to somebody just calling, hey, Winnie, it's
That's what I do.
Kyle, saw your ad on Zillow out here on freaking
In
Young's
Hollywood.
Island where there's no cell phone service. Like,
Eh,
that's what I mean. It's just like the consultation of, yeah.
Only house in Charleston has a basement.
but that, and just, but also like driving out that far too. Like you're about to be in a car for an hour, hour and a half driving there, 30 minutes for a show, and then hour and a half back when we're talking about the 9 to 5 job, right? Or like keeping the hours there, like all of a sudden that's 3 hours, 3.5 hours. That's not even prep work to do. CMAs, market analysis, everything else. Like get to know your buyer who you're going to be working with, set up that consultation or meeting. Before COVID, before Zoom was cool, I was doing Zooms on anybody coming in town from the north. I was like, screw this. Like, I'm not going to wait till they get into town, sitting in front of them. Like, let's just do it over Zoom. Everybody's going to be casual. We get to know each other. It's a lot more comfortable for this is my experience. It was a lot more comfortable for the other party as opposed to going to like a coffee shop or somewhere else. And then now at this time, they can assess all the information and decide if I'm the person they're going to work with all before they get here. So once they land here, it's like, okay, now we can hit the ground running because we've already met, already established, you've already signed it. So in other words, just save yourself a lot of time on the front end doing that. And it's going to be one consultation will save you a lot of days of headache of going out there and they end up not buying with you, but we'll get to that here. We will get to that here. Right, Dean? She said yes. So what are the goals of a buyer consultation appointment? What do you guys think some of the goals are? Well, Duncan, I guess you already said some, right?
Just give them time. Set
Yeah.
that expectation of what the process is like.
Creating rapport. Yeah,
Of figuring out what they do want,
Mhm.
probably.
Wants and needs analysis
Yep.
of what they're looking for, time frame,
What
what's the
might
price
best
range,
be.
what location? Is it schools? Is it close to hospitals? Is it close to the swimming pool? Is it close to the beach? Is it close to
Did
the
they
woods?
like
I mean,
HOAs or no?
there's a lot of questions that you can ask the further that you dig into it, because it would stink if they want to see no HOA houses because they've had bad experiences in the past. And the first day you go out and you got them lined up with HOA houses, like you're gonna,
Yeah.
it's not gonna sit well because you know, because it's our fault because we didn't ask the right questions, right? So
Explaining
these are
plan.
things, yeah, that we'll have in a needs analysis sheet that I'm sure Delisha can find one. I can find one for you guys too, but it's a great questionnaire form. I'll sit there and go through it with my clients. Like, hey, do you mind if I check some boxes here and ask some questions? Because I want to make sure I plug in the right information for you. And I don't want to lose anything. They're going to say yes every time. So like, don't feel guilty about taking notes while you're going through it. Yeah. So wants, needs analysis. Also the point is for your value proposition on that side. So if you're a new agent, like what would be your value proposition? What would be like some things that you could provide as a value as a buyer's agent?
Keller Williams here.
Huge, great answer.
Also, as a new agent, they're gonna be your primary focus.
So time, as a new agent, you've got a lot more time than other agents that are in the business that might not have time anymore. You can dedicate whatever it is to them. Keller Williams, the brokerage is great too, because you've got,
Borrow our
you've
numbers.
got a front desk coordinator that's up front, you've got a team leader, you've got a productivity coach, you've got a whole slew of people here, all the vendors that belong of Keller Williams Park. There's a lot of different things as a new agent you can provide, but time is the biggest one on that side, that you can dedicate so much to them on that. So what do you need to do to prepare for a meeting that will accomplish all three of the goals? So the final goal is to sign the buyer's agency agreement, right? But wants and needs analysis, setting expectations, value propositions, and closing a deal. So what three things we need to hit those goals?
You're gonna need to bring the paperwork form to sign. Very important. You'll bring the paperwork.
Paperwork, digital. Do you send digital before you meet them?
No,
Ever? No?
I see people going that route of lease expectations. I have some clients who are like, I want to take it under read it. And at that point, that's where I'm not gonna afford it. Yeah, take it under read it. Let me know what questions you have. Let's follow up tomorrow.
So I'll do, before I meet clients, I'll send it to them digitally, but not with initials behind it. I'm just sending it to them blank so they can see what the blank looks like. That way, when they're with me, it's not gonna be the first time that they're seeing the language on them. Because like that situation, the high Cs, Tim's a high C, he wants to go through the details, right? So they get a chance ahead of time, so it's not an excuse at the appointment, well, I want to read this over, I want to look at it. Now they've had the full day, 2 days, a week, whatever, ahead of the appointment to actually look at this, what those blank documents look like. And it's showing good earnest too, that you're not putting initials on it before the appointment, but it's just the blank docs to say, hey, look this over, let me know if you have any questions leading up to our appointment, but we'll definitely be going over these documents during our consultation. Yep.
Think about any relationship, whether it's with buyers or sellers, it's like dating. And so it is unrealistic for us to think that we're gonna go in and get married on the first substantive contact. You've got a date,
And that's why I literally say, it's like we're going steady, don't
Yeah.
worry, we're not.
got a date, once they sign the buyer's agency, or then, yeah, we're going steady, you're in gonna be in a
We're in a.
non-sexual intimate relationship for the next 30 to 60 days. I mean, legit, I mean, that's what it is. This is what you can expect from me, this is what I expect from you.
Yes, so these are all over the place. So participants that an A buyer is someone who is able, ready, and willing to purchase a new home. They will be under contract in a matter of weeks. Use the buyer lead sheet from the toolkit to classify buyers. So the lead sheet is in command. So it's against the basic document sheet. But the two big things like LP Mama is a big acronym that a lot of people use. Is that location, price, motivation, mortgage, agency agreement, and there's always another A that I forget.
Activities for some
I
reason.
thought it was ability,
Oh, yeah, ability, able, willing, and ready.
It could be able.
but Greg swapped it up and did some
Yeah.
other.
There's all kinds. My biggest one, I mean, I love all those, but I get to all the answers to those anyways in consultation. But off the rip in the phone is, can you financially do it and are you motivated? Like people can be financially motivated or financially able to do it all day, but they might not be motivated. So then you're just stuck showing houses for like weeks and months because they just want to be, oh, let's go see this. Oh, let's go do this, but they're
Just
not
'cause they're
motivated to do
able
it.
doesn't mean
There's
they're
no
not
reason
motivated.
for them to buy another house. Like I want to know what the reason, I want to know what the motivation is so I can match my motivation with their motivation, right, on that side. So for me, those are the two big things, but there are all kinds of acronyms that you can think in your head. That's how I trained anyways at the very beginning, was like, I got to get through all these questions because if I do all that, then I know that they're going to be a good client to meet with at that time. So an A here is saying an A player, as you categorize in your database, you'll have A's, B's, and C's, however you want to do it, or whatever lingo you want to use. But traditionally an A is within 30 days. Like, you know, they're hot to trot, they're ready to go. You need to be given more of the 80-20 principle we talked about earlier. Get that top percentage, you need to be focused with them as opposed to the C player who's 6 months out. Like you don't want to be showing them properties, right? Because they can't buy until 6 months from now anyways, until they sell their house, until they move here, whatever that looks like. So focus on the A's and build up on the B's and C's, right? Does that make sense? Just wanted to throw a tie down in there. All right, so the goal of the buyer consultation appointment is a signed buyer agreement. Setting the tone for closing the buyer agreement begins with the invitation to meet for your buyer consultation. So turn to page 14 in the Elementals script book. It's asking me to do scripts, so we might be skipping this part. Is it a short script though?
I don't have, it's not a script on 14 of it.
No.
It's a
There's the buyer
buyer
presentation.
one-on-one presentation.
What about page 18?
That's scripts, it's a KWF page.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll skip the scripts for now. Or we can just do one real quick. Don't you want to do one real quick? Yeah, you want to just be a friendly buyer with me today. Yeah. So Duncan, now that we've kind of talked about some of the things that you and Adrian are looking for in a house there in West Ashley, your guys' time frame might be in the next 45 days. Do you think there's a good opportunity that we could possibly meet here in the next 3 days to see, to sit down, meet face to face, and just kind of go over all those different things, and I can show you guys what the market looks like?
Yeah, man, I'd love to. I need to check with my wife just to make sure her schedule would match up with something like that, but I'm definitely open to it.
Oh, 100% on that. And I'll definitely get Adrian's contact information from you before we get off the phone today. But here's a good idea though. Let's do this because I've experienced that before, made the wrong decision by only bringing one of the parties to the table to meet. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and set an appointment for either tomorrow at 1 o'clock or the following day for 2 o'clock. And then once you get home tonight, you can talk to Adrian, talk to her about both those appointments. And she'll already see that email and that group text for me as well too. So you guys can talk about it tonight, but this way I can get you on the calendar to make sure that I've got that time slot saved for you guys. Then if anything were to come up with your conversation with Adrian tonight, you can just let me know at that time. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that sounds, so much easier. I appreciate that.
Perfect. So tomorrow at 1 o'clock works?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to pinch you in, and then again, in the end of this conversation, I'll have Adrian's contact information. I'll loop us all in together to make sure that we've got the same communication line.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Duncan. Easy. So you always want to make sure you have the other partner, right? Because you can be really in a bad situation if you don't have, even if they're your friends, best friends in the world, make sure you include the Mr. or the Mrs. on the other side. Doesn't matter who runs the house, who makes the most money, who does whatever. You never know behind the scenes who's going to be in big time trouble. And it ultimately comes back to us. They'll argue forever on it, but like it comes back to us, we'll lose the business.
Well, and each person is gonna have their own particular individual wants that they want in that next house, so you better make sure you're asking both of them.
Yep. Yeah, so that was, so Duncan threw an objection, right? His objection was, well, which we hear a lot, is like, oh, I got to talk to the missus. Oh, I got to talk to my husband, on that side. It's very common because it's such an easy out. Don't quit there. It's like, perfect, totally understand. I can explain why you understand. It's empathetic. We've been in this situation before. So this is what we're going to do. Like, it's our job to tell them, this is how we move forward. This is how we get through it. And once they understand, like, oh, wow, this person gets it. They've been there. Like, it just makes sense. So that's a good one, Doc. Master, we have fun. All right. Create the presentation. Did Jay do that at all? In 101, probably not 101, I don't think, creating the buyer presentation. I'm not super familiar with Command's presentation because me and my sister have created a different one. You guys have
It
shown
showed
it?
us on there though, where they were and stuff.
Okay, gotcha.
Great.
And it's a similar thing when you take out some of that stuff because it's overboard. You know what I mean? They give you all the information and pare it down. And make sure that everything is exactly what you're gonna do, because some of it, they might use different language. Like, we don't really use the word escrow as much as other people do. I mean, we do, but we don't. So, make sure that, that the language is appropriate.
Yeah.
Or in your voice even.
And I think when you guys get to that too, with looking it over, obviously Delisha can help, or one of us can help on that side too, to make sure that language is good in the flow of it. Because I think there are a couple templates in there that you can use, but you can definitely make them your own. I just happen to create one outside of these templates for our team specifically, but and make them specific to yourself too. Like, once you get used to like these templates, then create them. So each section of the buyer's presentation helps you connect with the buyer and build confidence in your value proposition. You can make changes to the presentation, including adding, deleting, and reordering the section. What resources do you guys have to help you prepare these buyer presentation? Like, if you guys were to build your buyer's presentation, like, what resources do you think you guys would put in that presentation to show your clients?
I'm heavy on testimonials.
Reviews, testimonials.
I like Market Monitor for statistical analysis to show people what's currently taking place in the market, so I can help them understand what the fuck's going on.
Polly, what about you?
I have no idea.
So like for you, so I went to school for teaching, never taught though. Still do mentorship, but I bring that up a lot in presentation. I tell people, like, I love to guide people through the process. Like, I'm not there to teach them or educate them. I'm a teacher by trade, but never actually taught. I was in hospitality, was in real estate, but I love this part of the process, the consultation, first time home buyers, whatever it looks like at the beginning. But I let them know, like, just know I love this part of the process. I love being a guide. I'm here to answer any questions that you have. I'm not going to rush you guys at any time. I promised my mom a long time ago, I'm not going to force anybody to make a sale. I'll never say you have to buy this house. But again, I'm here to guide you. I love showing this part of the process. And then you can talk about your background. I was a teacher. Like, that's such an instant trust when you're a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, like one of those trades, like already you're naturally, I think people just gravitate trust with those kind of professions, right? So I would think on those terms as well, whatever your experience is with teaching or with, school on that side, because people will have a trust on that side, and that's a valuable resource to have, right? That's a part of your value proposition, is that you can go through that and you can help show people on what it's going to look like. Other resources are market center vendors. So Ryan Butler's coming here. He's a real estate attorney, so he's a vendor. You can have him as a vendor in there. You could have, I mean, your local lenders, your local roofers, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you've got a front desk coordinator that's up here, agent services up here, or client coordinator, whatever, however you want to put your resources in there. But you can talk about all those. It's all Keller Williams, right? Another resource is Keller Williams, the numbers we do. Vince talks about the numbers all the time, right? So like the language of real estate numbers. He can provide those stats for you, or the market center can, but it compares Keller Williams versus other brokerages, right? So this is the kind of business we're doing compared to other brokerages, or this is how much we're saving our clients compared to other brokerages, or, you know, X, Y, Z. So the numbers, like Duncan was talking about, Market Monitor, which you all get used to in the MLS, like it's just showing the stats, right? It's just what I can do compared to this person, what the market's doing. So there's a lot of different resources that you can put in there for value proposition. Just, yeah. I'll show you guys. I can probably show you guys mine too, or I'll send it to you guys email if you guys want, just so you can see what mine looks like. So this is saying allow you guys to play with the buyer lead sheet, MLS, and Market Center. We're not doing that today. So we'll be discussing the resources to customize the buyer presentation. Your participant guide contains example pages from the buyer presentation template. You can view and edit the complete buyer presentation using either the modern or traditional templates. That's all that stuff. So let me get through all here. Yeah, that's just all the explaining through there. All right, so the next section of the buyer presentation is the preference profile. To turn to page 8 in the participant guide, review the question on that page. Wish I had what that looks like. The questions on there?
It is like, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Have you thought about the price range?
Gotcha. So it's kind of like a lead sheet. So,
Yeah.
so the best way in touch. So, and I apologize, I don't have what you guys have on your side there. So building that's setting expectations with your clients, right? So we're the professionals on that side. So setting expectations, like Romanowski for you, like I know you don't want to work weekends. You only you want to work 10 to 4, right? Say that. So now you know what your business looks like. So setting expectations is letting that client know, well, here's my schedule. I work from 10 to 4 every day, whatever the number is, right? So I work 10 to 4 every day. These are the hours that you can reach me. After 6 o'clock, like I'll mirror my calendar when I'm with people to show them what my calendar looks like on that side. So at 6 o'clock every day, I'm with my family. I don't have family here, like it's just me, but my family is my friends. My family is the happy hours I go to. You're like, that's my family time, right? So at 6 o'clock every day, I'm going to be with my family. That for some reason that triggers with people, because I think people have the notion that realtors work all the time, any hours, any of the day, like whenever they're available, right? Granted, they're getting off work a lot of times at that 5 o'clock. But as you're going through this expectation sheets, you know what their schedule is going to look like. So you can curtail it a little bit, but we are the professionals, just like doctors are professionals, just like teachers are professionals. Like you have to set your boundaries. Otherwise, you're going to be working a lot more than whatever said 40 hours or whatever the traditional hours is, right, per week.
And they'll get mad at you for it, but if you set the expectation, they'll be like, okay, got it.
Yeah. If we're under contract, it's an absolute fire that we have to put out. Shoot me a text and I promise I'll get right back to you.
Yeah.
Right. That's like the worst case scenario, right? I promise I'll get right back to you. Or you can text me at any hour the property that you want to see, and I'll make sure first thing in the morning, because I show my schedule. Like I'm up at 4:15 every morning. I'm at the gym at 5. I'm here at the office by between 6:30 and 7. So I'm here at the office, and at that point I can request the showing for the next. There's nothing I can do at 8 o'clock at night. You're not gonna close a deal at 8 o'clock at night. You're not gonna. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can't do. Like if I see the text come in, set them up also expectations. Let me know what time you can see the house tomorrow. So when you send it to me at 8 o'clock, let me know that tomorrow your time window is 2 to 4. That way, when I wake up in the morning, I know when your window is, and if I don't have an appointment set, I can go ahead and book it first thing in the morning, right? Like you're training them. It's not them training you, because otherwise you're going to be it's gonna go backwards. I did that at the beginning. It was awful. Like I wasn't setting expectations. Like it was not fun. It was not the lifestyle I wanted to live by any means. And they weren't my clients. I wasn't, yeah. I don't have them under buyers, like a lot of that stuff. So set those expectations.
We get those clients who call you like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, so they'll send you stuff because it's what they're doing on their free time. It's like, I found this house. They wake up and call them at 4 a.m. and be like, hey, I got your message and I'm up at work for the day. Just wanted to return your call. I want to see the house. Sorry, it's 4:30, but.
But when we teach people how to treat us.
We teach
Yeah.
them how to treat us, that is all.
Get it. Get that identified and outlined upfront.
And another great question is, I mean, what is your preference of contact? I mean, is it phone call, is it text, or is it email? It's one of those three. You know, what is their best way? I mean, if it's a super high D, somebody who's super driven, busy, up and go, like email exhausts them, like emails exhaust me. I don't want to see it. Don't send me an email to try to get me to go show you a house, like for my preference, right? I have to do whatever the client wants, but I want to see a text, right? I mean, phone calls are good, but I think just finding out, identifying what the best mode is for them is also going to set you up. Because if you're texting somebody who's 65 years old that doesn't get that world, that's going to be, that might not be good. And it's such an easy example, right? 65, but I think it's easier to be like easy examples on it. So that's another question that you want to ask on there. What's the best mode, right? Next question I would ask would probably be, all right, when's the best to connect with you? Before we're showing houses, you're not going to be ready for 30 days. So what I can suggest is every Monday, I'll send you a list of all the new ones just to reiterate what I'm sending you through the week, but I'll just send it to you in an email just to make sure you don't have any questions about the process, like staying engaged with them for the next 4 weeks until they can start showing. Because you don't want to wait 4 weeks before you call them again. Hey, it's been a month, right? Set the expectation that you're going to be in contact to make sure that they don't have any questions or any pop-ups like that. Along with, if you are showing them houses, you need to be in contact with them every day, especially in this market. Even if there's no houses to show, which could be likely, hey, nothing came up on the hot sheet for the specs that you want to do. Do you want to make any adjustments? Adjustments meaning price, location, range, anything like that. But if they're hot to try, you need to be talking every day. Otherwise, they're going to go find somebody else. Typically, they might, maybe not. So again, going back to setting expectations, their preferences, what they want, and then you can kind of guide around that. The biggest thing though, I think, is your own schedule. Show them what your calendar looks like. That's what helps to fill out your calendar. A lot of people don't do it, but like, man,
That's
if
true, if I showed them this, they'd be like, ooh, you're fine, girl.
oh, I know what your calendar looks like. Yeah, it's an easy win for you, you know? So yeah, so your own calendar is probably the best tool for that. Let's see here. I'll keep
Okay,
it.
I have one, I just thought that might be a reference for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're not going to create. Whoa. Here we go. Here. We're getting close, guys.
Actually, like what to say during.
I'm lost here.
Oh, your home wish list, like those types of questions. I feel like that was one of the things that Mike Green taught me one question. And I was like, God, that's such a good question. And he said, what do you like to do when you're home? What do you like to do when you're not home? Like when you're out and about? And I was like, I felt like that was a good question. That's not a traditional question.
More of a forward, like your recreational.
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
always do, like,
What is that acronym, Duncan?
Family, occupation, recreational, and dreams.
So that's.
Because it's like if somebody's like, oh, I'm outside, I'm not gonna give them a yard that's the size of a postage stamp.
Sure.
But if they're outside on the porch, maybe I will.
What you asked, you said you guys spend more time inside your house. Do you like spend time outside? Do you guys like to entertain? Do you like to have friends or family ever?
So if y'all want to write down Ford as, I know there's a lot of acronyms, but Ford as an acronym is a really good one. I think it came from Straight Line Selling, Wolf of Wall Street. I think I think it was through, or he used it. I know he used it in Straight Line Selling.
Yeah, I feel like that's an old
To
area.
keep him, it could, yeah, I forget, one of those things.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I like the non-negotiable. Like, one of the ones was somebody was like, well, I have to have a 4-bedroom house. Really? You have 1 kid or 2 kids. Why do you need 4 bedrooms? Well, people are gonna come down and visit me. Really? Well, how many times a year are people gonna come down and visit you? one time a year. Okay, so you need 4 bedrooms for somebody that's gonna come down once a year and stay for 3 days.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
really,
and-
do you need 4
and-
bedrooms?
but they might say yes. And I think the idea is
That
just,
my mom.
to go a few layers deep, like on that, right? Like, just don't take the surface level answer. Go tell me more about that, or what's important to you about that.
Yeah.
Like, those are 2 great questions that now they understand, they're gonna tell you. They might just say like, oh, everybody does 3 and 2. Everybody says 3 bedrooms too bad. Like, that's just like, everybody wants to make 100,000. Like, oh, 3 bedrooms too bad. Oh, why? If there was a 2.5 baths, would you want one? If it was 1.5 baths, would you want it? You know, if it's 3 bedrooms and a frog, would it be okay? 2 bedrooms and a frog, like just the more questions, that's why my consultations are long. Because the more I can get clarity around what they're looking for, the better it is. Especially when, like Duncan said with the Ford, knowing that where they need to be around, like I was saying earlier, beach, horses, restaurants, downtown, whatever it looks like, schools, you can start identifying. School's a great one for schools is, which school do you want your kids to be in? Have you looked at schools here? Like, that's a quick way to save like a whole big time search if they know exactly what school they want their kid to be in. That way you can just plug it in MLS, and that way the only houses that are popping up are ones that are in those schools. All right. There's dream home. And I feel like we're like covering all this stuff before these slides. That needs once. Yep. So, yeah, it is. Yeah, we've been doing it all. So dream home. So tell me about your dream home. Like, that's a great question. Because people get excited when you say dream home, even though it might be a starter, even though, well, yeah, be careful because they may be downsizing as well too. And their dream home they're having to sell because they're getting older and the kids are all moved out. But gauge the audience again. But tell me more about your dream home. It's such a great question. Like we just talked about here, guys, it's just getting the specs on every possible detail of what they're looking for. And time frame is a big deal too. You know, if we found a house tomorrow, are you able to purchase tomorrow? Would you purchase tomorrow? They said, no, you're not going to go show them the house tomorrow, right? Especially in this market, as you guys see more of the numbers, like we've all heard, it's a hot market, right? I probably wouldn't use hot market either. I think that can be subjective for some people, like hot crazy.
Yeah.
Just
Scare
doesn't.
people off.
It does. Whether it's selling side or buying side, like
It's just like a throwaway word. It's just like a word that
Yeah.
it's just.
It's like, oh, I'm busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're talking to, the word changes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? 'Cause like,
1000%.
there's so many people who I talk to, are like, God, this market's crazy. I'm like, depending on how you look at it, like
Yeah.
buyers are having a crazy time. Like,
Yeah. I
rates
mean,
are
it's
great for
neat.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's just,
Interesting.
I think it's simplifying whatever that crazy
Totally.
may mean to them at that time that they say that word. Like
Yeah.
just shutting it down.
yeah.
So I think these scripts will probably be in your packet too, but I mean, these are great questions here, guys. I was just now noticing these. It's super small font on mine, but these are all like great questions to ask, like inside of these consultations. I mean, and these are all things too that while you have them on the phone before consultation, I mean, these are all scripts and role playing. You want to get them talking. In other words, like we're just there to ask questions. I mean, we provide our value, but like the more they talk, the better they're going to feel. You know, on that side, the more they're going to feel that they're heard by asking so many questions. And let them know at the beginning. I got a lot of questions. I really want to dig in deep to your search. Like I really want to make sure that we're going to provide, you know, the best service for it. It's just setting that expectation. This was a lot of stuff inside of the presentation. So maybe I'll just go off these slides.
I think part of the thing with the buyer consult, like I make it a buyer guide, so I do take some of these questions out because a lot of these are questions that I'm actually asking. Does that make sense? So it's like,
Yep.
it's cool to know these things, but
So what she's saying is like, if this is a presentation, right, that you're showing them, like what, like these should be questions that you should be asking them like ahead of time, right? Like how new or old house, does it matter to you? If you had to name your top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be? Like you should know all this stuff going into your presentation. Your presentation should be more about the market and more about also maybe your reviews, maybe your testimonials, and then also building the trust. Like when you said it earlier, like rapport is probably the number one thing. That's the number one thing that's good for my business is my ability to gain trust. And I don't say that like braggadociously, but I know if I can get 1 or 2 people in a room, I know by the time we're done, an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I know they're gonna feel comfortable with me. I just know. And I'm in tune to like how I do operate, how I do want to help people. So again, like all these questions should be there, like presentation should be market stats, should be marketing if it's the seller side, right? But testimonials, reviews, maybe your stats versus somebody else's stats, or your stats, company stats if you're new, Keller Williams versus what the rest of the market's doing. We're kicking the rest of the market's butt as far as percentages and numbers go and all that kind of stuff. So like it's such an easy bet. Like when people see that, like why would they want to go work with another company unless they knew somebody there? Maybe it was personal or something. But if it's just like A versus B, and clearly A is better, who wants to go to number 2? You mean usually not most of the people. So that's something to keep track of. And plus, you should know the stats anyways. Like when you're sitting out with your friends, you said you have 7 or 8 conversations with friends. Like how awesome is it going to be? Like once you can dig into some of the stats, even at a basic level, and just be like, oh yeah, the market's adjusting here. Oh yeah, this neighborhood's doing this, or this zip code's doing this. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like yeah, this person's like actually tracking stuff.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
The agents that actually have data instead of like, yeah, I sold blah, 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 blah.
The market's hot.
No one cares, like,
Yeah.
every house is selling multiple offers over, like, that is not something, that's not a talking point anymore. But be the agent that has actual stats.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Or if somebody's asking you, and yeah, the market's really hot, or the market's really crazy, right? Well, it depends. Are you looking to buy? Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to invest?
or just
Like that should be the next
Right.
question of saying, yeah, it's crazy, it's blowing up.
But that
Like,
means
what a
nothing
dork
to-
answer, right? Well,
Yeah.
I shouldn't
it's
say dork
nothing
answer,
to-
but whatever. Yeah, so it's just asking them the questions, like, well, what, just depends. Are you buying or selling? Sure, it's hot, but like what direction are you going with this? Or like, what do you mean by hot? This is the question you're asking them. But again, it goes back to the numbers on that presentation. I think mine's like 15 slides long, and it depends on the personality too. Duncan and I, before we did a lot of training on personalities assessments. I was mentioning DISC earlier. So like we know before we're meeting the people what kind of personality are, whether they're detail driven, they're engineers, whether they're business owners, teachers. So we know which way to go in the presentation on that side. So we know what slides we could possibly skip, which ones we can do through. But I think knowing the presentation is the most important thing, like practicing, just going through it. That way you feel so comfortable with it. Seems monotonous. But that's the last thing you want to do is show up to that appointment and have that presentation for the first time. Like a 2.0 class instead of studying Ignite original class like I did all weekend.
Oh, dude, I can tell you how many times I've put together a presentation and never opened it up.
And that can happen too.
Yeah, because your rapport is so good.
Yeah.
You take that time.
Yeah.
I think in the 5 years in real estate, I've probably gone to a brochure maybe 7 times in 5 years.
So it just depends. Like again, like knowing yourself, knowing the client, and the rapport that you built there.
And I usually send the buyer guide in advance, and then I do the like chit chat, asking cute little questions and sign the buyer agency
Yeah.
card.
I had a consultation at a buyer's house, which was unique to me, and they had just moved to the country a little while back before, like 10 or 15 years ago. I met with them, came in, and immediately I could tell like they were cooking. So like that's like my role. Like I love like cooking food all day, like piqued my ears, my nose, whatever. But they were making fun, right? So I knew it was gonna be like
That was a family.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was there from 5:30 until 9 o'clock, just talking about food, drinks. One of their daughters lives in DC, the other in LA, but it was just, again, they were from a different country. So I had to realize like it's a different presentation. They got to know who I am. How am I going to talk with them? What is the conversation? Is that trust going to build compared to present? Like in literally at 9 or 9:15, we're sitting there and we're like, oh my God, we haven't talked about anything in real estate. I was like, all right, well here, let me pull out my stuff right there. They're like, no, just we'll sign it. We're ready to go at that time, And at that point I did let me go through a couple things real quick just to set expectations. But we sat there for 3 hours. Again, that's a long time, long consultation, but guess what? We had great food and may or may not have had his favorite platinum Coronas.
That's a relationship.
It is.
that, I mean, solidified right off the rip.
Yep.
So it's going to be a part of any real estate transactions that
For life.
they or anyone around them, and they're gonna be a part of that.
And I said that story just to be prepared, you know, like you just never know who's sitting across from you and like what their needs ultimately going to be until you show up with them, right? They set the time, it was the middle of their cooking time, everything else, and I just happen to love food, so it was like a natural conversation.
Yeah, that's like.
I had great food,
easy.
had a great time, and then it was, yeah, signed, sealed, delivered. So just be prepared for everything. May not even use that. Neighborhood insights.
It's your market monitor stuff, pretty much.
Yeah. So neighborhood insights.
These are in command as well, they are not, right?
That's sweet.
Yeah, the neighborhood nurture, that's what these are from.
So like the MLS, this is actually through your CRM, which is great, right? Because now you can, this will allow you to see what your clients are looking like. If you have them set up through your CRM, which the stuff is, you know what they're clicking on, what they're looking at for homes, properties. It's a big advantage when you know what they're looking at, right? Compared to if they're looking at Zillow, Realtor.com, stuff like that. But you can actually go in command and see, like, it'll show you which ones they are looking at, what time of day they're looking at it, which is crazy, right? But however, that's just technology these days. So are they looking at it at 12 o'clock every night? So now you kind of start to see like their schedules, what does it look like? Morning times, when to send them, that kind of stuff. So neighborhood insights are really great. And that has all of your stats there too. I mean, a lot of times, guys, like the technology is providing the value that we do a lot too. Again, going back to like relationships and building the trust, like that's the number one thing we have is the relationships and the trust to help them make the decision. They can see these stats everywhere. I mean, whether it's, I mean, Zillow is not always accurate, right? But this stuff, that kind of information is everywhere. Like you can look up tax records. Tax records are public. You can look up anybody, where they live, when they bought, that kind of stuff. But it's our job for relationship side. Some more presentation. This is really a lot through the process, isn't it? Because I feel like we've done all this stuff.
This just explains in advance for the high C. So this is one of the slides I love and I keep this in. And basically, like I said, I send the buyer guide in advance personally, and then I ask the questions and, you know,
Yep.
charm their pants off and all that kind of stuff.
So what she's saying by buyer's guide versus presentation, a buyer's guide is something that kind of shows you just the 101 of what the home buying process looks like, right? So you can kind of consider like on my presentation, it's like literally it's a path that goes from each place, from each part of the transaction, from first phone call to first meeting to pre-qualified, whatever that pattern is. But this gives them the visual of what it's setting the expectations for them ahead of time of what it's going to take to purchase the house. It's not going to be a backwards order. We're not going to go see houses before all the other steps, right? So again, it's just setting the expectations that it's our business and we're the professionals in the business. Buyer's guide versus buyer's presentation. And Winnie sends her ahead of time, just like I do. Just like the blank documents I talked about, like contracts earlier. It just gets them familiar with it so they can see it that way at time of appointment. If there's any questions, there's no room for excuses at that point, or objections. I won't say excuses. Business arrangement agreement. Mortgage, Keller Mortgage. I haven't used Keller Mortgage at this time just yet. Matt Mears is our preferred lender here at our office, so that's who I use quite a bit. So he's sponsored by Keller Williams here, but this is just if Keller Williams provides a mortgage service agreement, which is good. I'm sure Delisha or Winnie can talk more about it. I can't speak to it, unfortunately.
It's nice
My
because
first time
there's
seeing that.
no fee. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a $1,000 credit back to at time of close. There's a lot of advantages with it because it's all under one hood, right?
And you
So
need to find one rep that you jive with.
Yeah, 5-3 or.
Yeah. Like through Keller Mortgage, like you find like the one person, you're like, yeah, that's my dude. And then you find your other people and you're like, yeah, this is my arsenal.
it's my arsenal. So
Is it because I said arse? Oh. That's what I figured it was. Sorry.
So value proposition. So this is Keller Williams here, right? But this could be ours too, you know, on that same side. So it could be whatever your values are. I mean, it could be, you know, just trust, creativity, and integrity. It could be the three down there. But it's kind of the snapshot of who you are, right? So clients, past clients. If you're new to the business, you can talk about how many clients Keller Williams as a brokerage has done, you know, for the entire year on that side. Use KW as your leverage. Don't be worried about being new into the business on that side. Talk a little bit about you, talk about how you help the clients, or the stories about how you operate on this side really helps. On this side, credentials, you know, like you talked about teaching before. So I mean, if you have stuff like there, it's just a quick snapshot so people can see and you can talk to it real quickly. The testimonials, it'll probably be like the next slide or something. There's a good placement to put in here as well, or reviews or different links that they want to see. It's definitely a bonus for me. I say it on anytime I have a conversation with somebody I don't know, I reference them to like my Zillow reviews. Like, hey, go to Zillow. Like, don't hear from me. Go to Zillow. Read what other people are saying about me. That also helps as well. So I'll send that in my intro email to them, a link to Zillow, so they can see what kind of business I'm doing. Reviews are big. Obviously, you guys know. I'm sure we all search and look for the best reviews on anything, whether it's Amazon, movies.
But starting out, obviously, you're not gonna have reviews, so if there are colleagues, family members, anyone that you have worked with in any capacity,
That's what I did.
just say, hey, look, I need reviews. Would you mind just giving a blurb of, you know, when we taught, when we did social work or whatever? And again, Uncle Bob, like the Gen Pop doesn't know that Uncle Bob, you never worked with him. So, if, you know, one way as well.
So glad you said Uncle Bob.
Go on, Bob.
Talk about numbers for value proposition. Oh, even notice someone like you, Christina. How many military families do you think you've helped, Christina? And what percentage of your business do you think that is?
Ooh,
22
You
out.
pick whichever percentage sounds the sexiest, I'll figure out.
no, really, they'd be my smallest amount right now.
Is it? See, I thought it was going to be your higher.
Are you noticed, do you have military, are you military?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, my husband's sharing that with the people that he works with, that's where the disconnect is.
Mm.
But there's
Get with it,
been
buddy.
several other people that I've helped in the past, or friends from
Yep.
different bases that have referred people over to me.
But you'd probably put that, if it's not already your presentation, right? That you work with military, yeah, all that. So another value prop.
Huge network.
Yep.
Um,
We're almost wrapped up, guys. I'm trying to make it the longest. It's like my buyer's consultation. Make everybody as tired as possible at the end of the second. It's over, sign
Sign
here.
it.
This is so easy.
How much longer? I'll sign it. It's over.
Yeah. I'm glad I got everybody laughing. Glad. Because we've got a survey coming up, so that laughter is going to turn into the survey. Not that Kyle's a joke, but Kyle gets 10 out of 10 stars. All right, so role model, welcome to buyer's presentation. We're not doing that. Buyer presentation. Yeah, see, these are a lot more of the script books too on that side. So you guys will see there's things called so you get scripts, role playing, all that stuff. There's also different kinds of tie down sheets. Tie downs are what you say to get an agreement out of people on that side. Does that make sense?
Nice tie down.
Thousand tie down.
Yeah. Okay. So like you're finishing lines with people to make them feel, you know, more comfortable, because you want to have, you know, those people on the other side, you're speaking the same language and you're trying to get them the same answers, and making them feel more comfortable is definitely one way that we're going to get them to sign it. Things like, wouldn't you agree? Right's the easy one, right? Say, I mean, like we all say it. That's like so natural on that side. But there's probably about 30 or 35 different tie downs that I use on that side to get them to sign it. It goes back to, again, like the objections, like how many objections they're going to get. This is from phone call, right? Not from buyer's consultation like we're talking about. But it's just working through them. It's just making them feel comfortable. And a lot of times it's just you reiterating what they're saying, right? So if they're saying something, you just want to make sure that they understand what they're saying. Because a lot of times people are nervous in these kind of situations, or they're not really 100% sure. So if you're reiterating what they're saying along with the tie down is finishing in the question, but it's more of a statement with the question. They're going to say yes or no, whichever direction that you're going to with it. It's sales, but it's also a way that you're just making sure that you're on the same page with them. So tie downs is, you could find you can find a lot of use of those in relationships as well outside of business. That could be really fascinating with friends, families, loved ones. It can really help you in a lot of areas until they figure out what you're doing.
They don't coach your wife.
And yeah, like Adrian definitely recognizes tie downs now from Duncan, and it's not always a good scene. But it's good though. It can help you in a lot of different places besides just business, right? Does that make
So
sense?
she knows the game now. It's like, you know what, it's not gonna work this
Not
time.
even fucking cool. Does that make sense? She's like, don't tell me that. What you're doing?
I see you.
I think I caught what you said.
All right, so we are gonna wrap this up. And I hate that we weren't able to pull up a lot of the presentation stuff on the screen, but I'm again, like, I'm more than willing to like walk through like any presentation with like any of you guys too. If you guys want to practice or go through it or take a look at mine, whatever that is. And I could walk through, if you guys wanted to be bored and sit and have me do a consultation with you, I'm more than happy to do that too. Like sometimes it's good to hear from other people, sometimes it's not, but I can show you how I do it and it might help you guys in your business. I don't know.
The
So
nice
definitely
thing is, like,
don't
with your
hesitate.
personality, like, we're more similar, so like, you know, find somebody in the office that has a personality that makes sense for you and listen to what they say. I feel like it's more effective.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure Greg's consultation is vastly different than your
I
consultation.
know it is, yeah.
Yeah. His is like.
Yeah. Mine again goes back to like the teaching side, like the guide side of like really making sure that they understand like the portions and everything else. Like it's very, it's not sales at all on that side. It's all about how I have it set up. Slide to slide, it's all just building. It's like crescendo, right? All through it. So let's see here. 5 minutes. You all are on page, the ahas page. Do you have that, Duncan? I'll do some last minute ahas here. Maybe page 22, somewhere's back there. It looks like this one, ahas to achievement.
Oh, yes.
That's a lot of role playing script. When I first took Ignite, there's tons of script practice and role play. We used to have to make phone calls in the classroom too. Have you guys had to do that? Lead gen in front of everybody else?
We did that at mine too. And we literally sat and we did a buyer consultation. We like partnered up, we're like, okay, yes. And we literally like 2 people and we did it like, we just drove off for like 15 minutes and did a buyer consult.
It's good. You can practice on those on your own too. Or with other people. It's just walking through it, talking out loud is such a big difference than reading in your head. So in here, ahas to achievement, each one, just write one, then we'll share. I've got some ahas. What a great day to be alive. I went from original Ignite being prepared to run the gauntlet 2.0.
Oh, are we filling out the survey?
No, not yet. We're at ahas to achievement, just taking a quick minute. More for you. And then, is there really a survey? I was just kidding about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be a faculty, you need to like have those filled out, so.
Oh, it says for KWU.
Correct.
Or no,
Correct.
so I don't have
You
to have
have to, if you don't want one, you don't have to fill it out, but if you ever have intention of
one. I got you.
progressing through that, then you should. That,
You do know everything.
I'm a sponge.
How is that?
I have a rather good memory.
You're like the Dewey Decimal System.
That's perfectly Dorothy. Perfectly Dorothy for me, thank you. You're like, I rather.
right. Duncan, what was one takeaway from this portion of B prep?
I wrote that I should send blank contracts in advance. And if Kyle can do it, so can I, is what I wrote down.
Wow,
That's
okay.
huge.
Yeah.
That was a competition, I heard. Woo!
I mean, it's just something I don't do. And the one client that I have trouble signing on day one is a fucking stick. And maybe it's because I
Yeah.
haven't sent him the contract ahead of time. So it's something I can change.
And I'm not a C, so I have to be like, oh.
So in the world of,
Need all the information up front.
so disc, y'all can take it, Tony Robbins free disc, right? If you've taken one before, familiar. So
We've talked about it.
okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Definitely
So
take
C's
it.
the analytical, yep. Well, good stuff, Duncan. I like
I
that.
think I'm gonna earn a listing because now I'm not a high C, I'm actually a really low C, but I'm a high I, and so I just wanna please, and like, I want people to like me. So I was like, oh, well, let me ask, anyhow, he was like, you were a lot more thorough than the other agent, and I was like, ding.
Winner.
That also helps with showing the property engineers.
They're gonna wanna, like,
They want
they're
paperwork.
gonna wanna look at
They're gonna
the,
spend an hour
like
at
the
each
circuit
house.
breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, you're right, you don't, like, I usually book like 15 minutes per house.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, they will know upfront they don't want the house, but they will dissect how the house is built. That's one of the first questions I ask, is there an engineer in the group? Like, honestly,
Yeah.
That is a great, that's, you're like, who is the analytical one? Okay, like, that's a good question.
But yeah, it's one
I think just pretty much make it as comfortable as possible, providing data, constantly summarizing, using the tie downs, just making them as comfortable as possible.
Yep.
That's gonna get you to signature and move it on as quick as possible.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing. And obviously collecting info, what kind of house they're looking for right off the bat as well. Make it easy for you long term as well.
Trust and rapport.
Yep.
Got that
And
rapport.
That's in any job, food and
Yep.
beverage, teaching, you name it. That's the biggest thing for sure.
If you say you're gonna do it, you gotta do it. You have to,
Got to.
otherwise. But you, Polly?
Pretty much the same thing, just building relationships, making sure you're prepared, have everything ready for, whatever they may need to help get the deal done.
I think it's a good idea to have, like, whatever the packet looks like that you're gonna do for each one, just to have it like in a file somewhere, like on a Google Drive or whatever it is. If it's a lead buyer sheet, if it's a seller lead buyer or seller lead sheet, presentation, everything, that way you can just have it in one file. So the day of, you're not going out scrambling. It's a whole lot easier, and I template it all, so that way it's just the basic fill-ins. What about you, Christina?
Tell me to a client what
Don't
happened.
I know you gotta take away from today.
I have a client that has COVID right now, sorry. And they're on a bed,
It's the world
so
we
y'all
live in.
say extra
50 out of 50 people have taken the vaccine.
So, I mean, I guess because I came in during COVID, and I've talked to you a lot about this. I came in like when COVID was big and the office was shutting down and everything, so I haven't actually gotten to sit through anything that's about a buyer consult yet. So it's nice to hear that a lot of the points that I've already incorporated into my.
Yes.
I don't really do a consult, really, it's more of a conversation.
Well,
Which
that's
is
how
fine.
it should.
I mean, it's
So,
consultation.
yeah, so it's an aha for me just to make sure that we're always building that rapport, always building that trust, so they know that they can count on us.
Yeah.
And all of the tie down questions. I use those from previous sales experience, but hearing some of the other ones I haven't thought about before were nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good that I've noticed about that with you and your business that you have listened and you have taken, like you're actually doing the actions that people in the office that are successful, that are doing. I mean, it started with you doing the open houses. I mean, you shadowed Lexi, and Lexi's one of the best when it comes to open houses.
Mhm.
But I mean, you just modeled, you just took what everybody else did, like don't reinvent the wheel. So it's awesome that you're just now like getting into the office and hearing some of the stuff and you're already freaking doing it in year one.
Very tactical, huh?
starting.
Two more. That's where it's gonna be done before noon.
Already, so that's good. But I feel like, running your business the best way that fits for you and your personality is always gonna get you ahead versus.
Oh,
I was
Fo-
having a
focus-
conversation
focus on your-
with
focus on
someone,
your
I was like,
strengths
"Oh my
all
God,
day."
I'm in there." I think you and I were talking about it.
mhm.
And they were talking about cold calls this, cold calls that, and I said, as soon as I hear cold calls, I'm like, I'm out. Because that doesn't fit. Yeah.
Also, like, the weirder I am, the more money I make. Hello, like,
It's your
fine.
personality. Yeah, they fall in love with your personality.
Exactly.
That's why I always joke.
Plenty-
around,
plenty of
like,
business to go
"Really,
around."
personality?"
What'd you learn, Dean?
Just a reiteration of,
You know everything.
just
Solid.
building rapport, relationship building, ask questions, listen, be a good human.
Perfect. It'll be one
But I
Kenobi.
do like when, we don't have calls that we don't want to do, but having the affirmation, I'm making this call, and then attach whatever is gonna change your mindset about that call. I
Mhm.
love that.
Especially the tough calls to make.
Like, this people wants to hear, or this person wants to hear.
What about you, Winnie? We'll finish this at 12. I thought I was gonna be 11.
Oh, I can talk fast. Two things. One is I don't usually send my disclosure and buyer agreement ahead of time, but that's a perfect opportunity to send that when I send my buyer guide, just as another help for my high Cs. And just like reiterating that, like, the person that asks the best questions is the person that's in control of the conversation. Like, literally, the less you talk, but i.e. the better questions you ask,
Mhm.
the better the outcome. Like, they need to feel like they're the most important person ever in the history of the world.
Yep.
Because they are at that moment.
I think the one thing that we didn't talk about today, that I thought would probably come up.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that it didn't, but is third-party testing. When it comes to rapport building in a buyer presentation. Yeah, you get a lot
Well,
of-
kind of like reviews,
Yeah,
yeah.
you get a lot of questions like, hey, tell me about this. And it's easier when you're talking to a client instead of saying, well, I've done this or I've done that. When
This
you're
is
like,
what-
I've
this is
got
what this one
clients that are in your exact same position.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Here's how we managed to get them to the finish line.
You totally tell the story, tell the story.
Or someone else, rather than it coming from that individual prospect.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, Kelly and Matt were in the same boat as you guys. Yeah, totally.
And they're like, well, if somebody's been at this boat, they're just like us, and they got, and Duncan got it to the finish, then he
Yep.
can get us to the finish too. So, yeah, I think third party testimony was the only thing that I thought that just.
Yeah.
nice that.
Nice.
And we're done.
11:59.
Minute before.
Sorry it took so long. We end this.
We appreciate
It's
it.
because I wasn't, it was my fault. I
Are
had,
you taking another one this week, Walker?
mm-mm. If I am, then I gotta be sure to do the 2.0.
Yeah. I had Laura print up the instructor.
I'll shut off soon. Thanks, y'all. I love you all showing up.
Appreciate it.
Seriously, shoot me a text, give me a call if you guys need anything.
Okay.
I will answer.
I've not seen that email yet.
It's like,
No,
will not.
bro.
or
You
will
got, you got my other.
Okay.
I'll-
I think somebody else
Kyle,
said that
I'm
they.
looking at your sheet. Did you help that out?
Yep.
Okay, that's
What's the
fine.
code red email?
Is it
Yep,
the,
go on board.
oh, we are gonna have to have our own Thursday.
I got that on my thing.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to put a blast out about that again.
Is it the low country one or the big collaborative
So I wanted to make sure I wasn't
one? I
missing
need to
stuff
do
for
like a
us.
Zoom, like a video or something, because really the best thing to do is on your computer. So we
Okay.
can probably do like a little video or something.
Oh, I made the wall. Look at that guy.
You're official.
When you were clean.
God, he's good looking. Who is that guy?
On the wall.
Yeah, let's go put the old beer, the new beer next
I
to
wonder when my picture is gonna go up there. I should be over there, like, some of these
I
people.
bet it is now.